It's the Soul of the City Gospel Radio Show inside this blessed, great afternoon, miraculous, moving, motivational Monday afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Dennis Walton. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you on this blessed afternoon?
Sister Soraya.
Yes, sir.
I am very well.
All right, wonderful. All right, 6 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock p.m. It's King Day.
It is King Day.
Dr. King Day, commemorating his legacy.
Which is very, very significant.
That's right.
You know, we got a lot to talk about when it comes to King Day and the significance of who Dr. Martin Luther King was.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm looking forward to getting into that as we look at where we are at in the world today.
Yes, that's right.
And what Dr. King stood for. But I think a lot of what Dr. King stood for was you know, empowerment.
That's right.
You know, what does it take to empower yourself as a people? And when we look at the civil rights movement and Dr. King being the backbone of the civil rights movement and that generation being the architect of civil rights.
Sure.
We have to look at where it started and where we're at today.
Woo.
And in so many ways, how we have not still achieved that dream. But then so many other ethnic groups, so many other ethnic groups have come to this country, and immigrants have come to this country since the inception of a Dr. King and them fighting for the civil rights of Black people. And they've used that very blueprint to surpass us.
Yes, definitely.
In a lot of ways. And I'd like to, you know, talk a little bit about that when we say, you know, how our leaders have died or been killed for our struggle.
For sure.
And then looking at where we are as a people, never really achieving the dream that our leaders have died for. But we sit back and we watch other immigrant groups come to our country and use the blueprint for civil rights to empower themselves. And here we are still fighting for voting rights in 2022.
Definitely. King's example and his insistence on nonviolent protests continue, like you said, to influence many activists pushing for civil rights and social change today. Just to even imagine, Dennis Walton, if Dr. King was still alive today, he'll be frowning on us today.
I go back
to... can you imagine?
This is cartoon. Adult cartoon that I used to watch called The Boondocks.
Yes.
and I wish I could play a clip of we could play a clip of The Boondocks.
Okay.
When Dr. Martin Luther King came back.
Yeah.
From the dead.
Oh my Lord.
And it was a part in The Boondocks where Dr. Martin Luther King, he saw it's like if he came back today and he saw all the rapping and the different things that we're doing right now, and he was just amazed, right?
Yeah.
And at the end, Dr. King, at the end of the show, Dr. King, he looked around and everybody was twerking and shaking their butt. Buck dance and just doing all kind of stuff.
All kind of crazy stuff.
Dr. King got mad. He said, "The hell with you. I'm moving the camera." I'm gonna try to see if I can pull that clip.
Oh my God.
He was so disgusted. He said, "I'm moving the camera."
Just imagine. Oh my God. Yeah, that's
so
amazing.
again, I think a good question would be like if Dr. King could come back.
If he was here, like, nah.
What would he say about the state of existence of Black people today?
Yeah.
You know, what would he say? How what would leadership look like?
Yes.
If so many of those who died for us to have the freedoms that we have, which I think that we have to acknowledge.
That's right.
That fight. What would they say today about our level of progress?
That's right.
And how we're utilizing it? Because we've definitely progressed. I think one thing we have to do is acknowledge that those ancestors that fought for us in the past, they did their job. And I think one of the things that we do too often is that we continue to try to hold on to their fight instead of moving beyond what they were able to accomplish so that we could further the struggle. You know, because we still hold on to a lot of the old ideologies that came up out of the civil rights movement, when today we're not going through half of the things that they experienced.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that we do, we have to take responsibility for. You know, because a lot of things are self-inflicted, you know. So whereas now where Rosa Parks went to jail, and it was a whole big thing about her not sitting at the back of the bus. We get right on the bus and go straight to the back.
Straight to the back. We don't want no problems. We want no more problems.
No, we don't even care about it. We can't wait to get to the back of the bus. All that fighting to not sit in the back of the bus.
Yeah.
And the first thing we do is get on the bus and go straight to the back and act a fool.
Yeah, just walk straight to the back. Yeah.
The N word. Our ancestors fought so hard,
and we call each other the N word.
Our ancestors fought so hard for us just to overcome that word, and for us to be respected and not be talked to in that way.
Very true.
And now every other word coming out of our mouth is in.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So I say, when we look at, I'm just use a minor example.
Yeah.
Of things that we have had to go through, or things that have preceded us that were not tolerable.
For sure.
And now some of those very things that we fought and died for, we live with those things every day comfortably, right? And we still are fighting as though we're getting attacked by the dogs, or we're marching across the bridge or whatever. But we've already marched across the bridge.
Yeah.
We've already, a lot of the freedoms that the civil rights activists in the 60s, the 50s, and the 60s fought for, we've achieved those things. So what is the next level for us when we talk about that fight? I don't think that Dr. King started the civil rights movement for us to stay stuck on. In 2022, we're still fighting for civil rights. There was a next level to the fight that I think that we have not achieved, that we have to talk about. And that next level was, how do we achieve economic equality? Not just legislative equality and civil liberties, but once we get past that point, how do we get to a place where economically we are empowered and there's a level of equality that exists for us from a perspective of wealth and resources.
Right.
And I think that that's the place where we should be focused now when we talk about empowerment. One of the things that Bishop Harvey said, Walter Harvey said when we were talking to him, and I thought was really powerful. And I asked him, well, what's the next level of fight and justice for us? And he said, we have to use business, our sense of business, our ability to do business as a form of justice.
Yes.
And that will bring us into a balance. And right now we're not doing that collectively. And I think that that's where our shortcoming is when you look at our community today.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important that we acknowledge the successes of a Dr. King, but also understand that he stood for more than what we give him credit for today.
Sure. Yeah.
And have we achieved what the fight was really all about?
That's the ultimate question. Yeah.
Have we achieved that? So yeah, that's,
let's put some respect on his name.
Put some respect on his name, but don't just keep it, make it seem like his dream was just for us to be integrated and drinking out of bubblers with white people.
Absolutely.
Don't make it seem like his dream was just for us to be able to, sit in a restaurant with a white person.
Yeah.
It was beyond that.
For sure.
Integration was one aspect of equality, but it wasn't integration so that we could just so that we can just sit next to them or drink next to them. We wanted to integrate so that we can be respected, but also be respected from the perspective of having the same level of resource, the same level of economic stability, the same level of respect when it comes to when we go to get loans or when we open businesses. That was the integration, and to a great extent, we still haven't achieved that. Yeah,
speaking of that, Mr. Green just mentioned regarding business, when we keep our money in our own ethnicity businesses longer than a week to balance it out. Great point, Mr. Green. Yeah. All right, 15 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock p.m. And of course, today is a federal holiday. So All businesses are closed. Businesses and banks are closed. It is in observance of a national holiday. Schools, governments, agencies, and business and banks are closed on today in observance to the national holiday on today. So y'all are stuck with us until 3 o'clock p.m. today. Don't forget to download the app on today. Go to your mobile device right now. You are on it right now. Go to that mobile device right now and type in HD Radio Online, HD Radio Online right now. It is absolutely free. HD Radio Online right now on your mobile device. HD Radio. You see that right now? HD Radio Online, one word. Coming up 1 o'clock p.m. today, we're going to have Miss Bria.
Yes.
Miss Bria. We're going to have an exclusive interview today.
Mhm.
Our good friend, Miss Bria. You want to talk about her briefly, Mr. Dennis Walton?
Yeah. Miss Bria Grant
Yes.
is an entrepreneur and activist in our community who has been working really, really hard, to help change some of the circumstances and the conditions that we're in this community. And she's also doing some very significant work as far as leadership within the CXW community health worker community. Her organization is what's the name of the organization?
I am trying to pull it up right now.
Wisconsin
It is
United.
Wisconsin Unite.
Yeah, Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, Unite of Wisconsin, I believe. Vice versa. One of them. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Wisconsin United.
Yes.
And the focus of her work is centered around public health and
Yes.
some of the issues, the crisis and issues that we are faced and challenged with when it comes to public health in our community, and what we can do to understand those things from a perspective of joining the organization, learning about the resources within the organization, and then also learning about the importance of individuals having the opportunity to become community health workers, meaning that those from the community who are most affected by the issues are the experts in the community, and we have to empower them to be the resource in the community. So it's going to be very significant. I'm looking forward to talking to Bria,
Yes.
because on this day when we on King Day, it's just a good conversation to have with someone like her,
Yes.
who's been on the front line of community and fighting to improve our community in the manner in which she's doing it. So it should be a very good interview.
Yes, she is the founder and executive director of Unite MKE and Unite of Wisconsin. That's it. And she's made a lifelong commitment of serving the community and the state. So we're looking forward to talking with her. So, all right. All right. In other news, we have so much going on just in our city alone. OMG, in our city alone. So,
well, let's get to it on King Day.
on
Let's see how
King
free. Let's see how
Day,
free we are. On
we
King Day.
shall over.
Let's see how much respect we've achieved for ourselves.
I don't know.
When we look at the news.
I don't know about that one, Dennis. I don't know about that one. But let's talk about the weather really quick. It is currently 30 degrees outside, probably the mostly cloudy skies with temperatures topping out in the upper 20s to around 30s. It's been quite nice outside for the most part. I'm not complaining, but we're going to fall into the teens on this week. I'm not complaining.
The last couple of days.
I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to tell you.
The last couple of days.
I'm not. Hey.
Can I talk?
I will not complain.
Jesus.
I will not complain.
Were you ever taught like not to talk over people?
Hush.
I'm just asking. I bet that's
I'm
real frustrating.
excited.
With people who are trying to listen to.
Yeah, I like getting on Dennis' nerves, y'all.
Have you ever?
As y'all can see, no, I'm just
Were
playing.
you ever taught that? Like when a person talks, you need to stop talking.
Y'all can see I like getting on Dennis' nerves.
Hey, man, calm it down.
Go.
Anyway, I forgot what I was about to say.
I know I did that purposely.
Jesus. Anyways, on to the next one.
But anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about the weather first.
Oh, and I was trying to have a conversation with you about the weather, but you just kept going on and on and on.
Okay. All right.
Jeez.
What were you saying, Dennis?
No, I was saying, you were saying that it's not that bad and the weather's been pretty good. I was saying, no, it's been cold.
Okay.
The last couple of days, it's been absolutely, where they talk about where like the weather be biting you. It's been cold outside, and it's crazy because I was out not last night, but the night before last, Saturday night, and I always have this, every winter around this time, I just have this thought in my mind about people who are homeless.
Yes.
And it was so cold, it just made me start to think about the homeless, because I'm like, wow, every year I think about it like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
somebody is homeless in this weather.
Yeah.
When it gets to January 15th, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like 15, 12 degrees with 0 degrees wind chill,
Okay.
my mind just automatically goes to who's under a bridge, or who's sleeping in a car, uh, who's living without shelter.
Gotta be grateful.
Man, because it was so cold Saturday. I was like, I just had to. I literally, while I was coming home,
Mm-hmm.
I had to start praying for
Yeah.
those who are homeless, or those who are without shelter, or
Mm-hmm.
those who may have just been in the streets. Because, you know, fortunately, this hasn't happened as of yet that I've heard of. But you know, we'll get that time when you just look up on the news and they'll say somebody died.
That's right.
This weather is so cold that it will kill you.
It can.
So
Yep.
I'm just saying, like, can we please, you know, when it's this cold outside, or when you're experiencing the cold weather, when you're at home in your bed with your comfortable, with your comforter, eating your food, eating your dinner in warmth, watching TV, think about somebody who doesn't have that same opportunity.
That's
and
right.
Please, if nothing else, just say a prayer for them.
For sure.
Please.
Yep, was less fortunate. That's very
That's
true.
all I wanted to say.
Yeah,
right?
because you know what? It's going to get colder.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we get past this, because
It's
like
going
I said,
to
it's
get
biting
colder.
out there. It's,
Yeah.
like I said, Saturday, Friday, Saturday,
Yeah.
it was so cold. Like, whoa.
Because I think it was only like about 20, 25 degrees, you know, but it's going to get like 20, 25 below. We haven't even reached that,
Yeah.
you know.
But in the night, when you out at 11, 12 o'clock
Yes,
at night,
yes,
that's
when
when the
you-
weather drops.
Right.
1 o'clock in the morning, you see the weather just plummet.
Those single digits. So
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Yeah. So in the daytime, of course, like this,
Yeah.
you know, it feels good outside.
Yes, it does.
But once it get to 12 o'clock midnight,
Yeah.
that hawk come in.
I get it. Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah, just say a prayer for people. That's
For sure.
really what I want to stress.
All right, we're going to say a prayer for this 8-year-old girl family. The 8-year-old girl was killed over the weekend. Did you hear about that? Yeah. Over on 18th and Highland. Yeah. The Milwaukee County medical examiner's office has identified the 8-year-old girl who was killed on this past Saturday. Her name was Tiana Huddleston. Authorities reported to the scene near 18th and Highland shortly before 2:30 p.m. Police said the suspect was handling a gun when it fired and the girl was struck. Huddleston was taken to the hospital where she ultimately died of her injuries.
She was killed.
The suspect, a 47-year-old Milwaukee man, was arrested, and criminal charges, of course, will be referred to the Milwaukee County District Attorney in the coming days. So
he mishandled a firearm.
Pretty much.
And shot the little girl. Wow. I hate to hear that.
Yeah. So
I hate to hear it again, because, you know, people have a right to carry firearms. So a lot of times when you hear about firearm situations in our community, we automatically think, oh, well, it's just something always negative associated with it. But people have the right to carry. It's their First Amendment, Second Amendment, one of the amendments.
One of the amendments, but
you know, the right to bear arms. You have the right to bear arms. All right.
Yes.
Second Amendment rights, the right to bear arms. But you always, in our community, you hear about firearm activity and it's negative. Somebody getting murdered, somebody getting accidentally shot. Just negativity behind gun violence all throughout, you know, the north side, just throughout the Black community. But one of the things that we have to do a better job of is that gun safety and firearm safety and training is something that's really important. And in other communities, they have that. They go to gun ranges. They have gun clubs. You know, they teach their young people how to fire weapons and handle weapons at a very early age. They have gun locks. They have gun safes. They have gun information and literacy to make sure that their community and the people in their community know how to properly use firearms. And we don't have that. And in our community, you see a lot of firearm violence or a lot of firearm mistakes and situations that happen simply because we're not literate. We don't understand we're not educated around how to handle weapons properly. We're not organized around how to handle weapons properly.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, we take it for granted, and now we get this nice shiny gun, which people be excited about, and you don't know how to put the safety on, or you don't know how to use a gun lock, or you don't know that it's one in the chamber, or different things, and then accidents like this occur.
Yes.
So firearm training and safety is really important.
Very
being
important.
Organized around. What that looks like is really important.
Definitely.
Gun owners need to be organized.
For sure.
We need to have organizations within our community because the guns aren't going anywhere. But who's going to bring the information to gun owners or potential gun owners so that they can be more responsible?
Right. Definitely. So here you have it.
Yeah. So I think that there is a way, we're hearing so many of these situations about guns in our community. What's the solution to the problem? The solution to the problem is to make sure that people are educated and informed on how to utilize their weapons. And in many instances, I see so many people just walking around with a gun hanging out their pocket, or just get a gun and don't know how to properly use it, and it leads to these type of situations.
That's right, definitely. Yeah. So we're praying for that family. So, all right. So here's another situation. Dennis, did you hear about this carjacking situation? About the off-duty detective that was helping the driver, the DoorDash driver on downtown in the 3rd Ward.
I did.
Did you hear about that?
Now, hold on. If I'm not mistaken, they were at the Shake Shack.
Yes.
Right? And then while they were at the Shake Shack, the DoorDasher, someone attempted to rob the DoorDasher.
So here we go. The food delivery driver, nearly carjacked before an off-duty Milwaukee police detective intervened last Thursday in the 3rd Ward, is describing the ordeal that left the MPD detective with multiple gunshot wounds. All right. Everything started at the Shake Shack in the 3rd Ward. The woman said she got out of her car, turned it off, started walking toward the restaurant to pick up a food order. In that moment, she could see employees pointing and waving at her. Their car pulled up next to her, she said, right? Okay, I'm just gonna read it verbatim. She said, their car pulled up next to mine, she said. He jumped out and jumped into mine. The Milwaukee woman, still in fear for her safety, asked to remain anonymous. She says, everything happened so quickly. With all 3 of her daughters still in the car. Okay, my daughter said, who are you? To him. He said and turned, whoa, and jumped out. With all 3 of her daughters still in the car, she watched the man run away. She then realized he dropped his phone. I went and grabbed the phone and then went and told the restaurant to call 911. She said, call them, please. I have his phone. This when things took a turn. As I'm talking and saying I have his phone, he heard me and he turned towards me and came rushing at me, wrapped his arms around me and tried to tackle me to the ground to get his phone back. The off-duty Milwaukee detective, who happened to be inside Shake Shack, jumped in. They were wrestling on the ground, and then you heard 2 shots, followed by more shots. While all this was happening, she said, the restaurant employees were pulling me to the back, and I was trying to get my kids. The woman said she saw the officer bleeding. The whole time he was on the ground, he was just repeating the plate number and what he wanted them to write down. And so he just didn't care about himself at all, she said. And eventually the mother of 3 made it back to her car, and then it went from there. So he was, of course, all of that happened. Oh my God. So I guess the guy got away, and yeah, that was quite frightening. So
I don't even know what to say.
I don't know what to say. Yeah,
speechless.
Whoa, yeah.
Jesus. So they jumped. So they tried to carjack her.
They tried to carjack her with her daughters in the car. And she takes his phone, that's something you see. He dropped it, but she picked it up. That's something out of a movie, wow. He heard her talking on his phone. He had his phone, and
But okay, hold on. Okay, now let's talk about this story a little bit. Right? First of all, we have to recognize that. Look at how bold crime is getting in our community. right? Now, from the lack of law enforcement or proper law enforcement, or there's so many different reasons why you have crime in communities. But for so long, you predominantly saw crime on the north side of Milwaukee or in the inner city of Milwaukee. When you look at the trend of the crime spilling outside of the inner city and into
downtown Milwaukee, yes,
this is where you know it's getting really bad, because you're talking about the third ward. This is a highly, this area is not a bad area. This is where people.
You never hear about crime in the third ward.
This is where people are working. This is where people have money. This is where you have all of the business. This is the heart.
Yes.
And soul of downtown. You say third ward?
Third ward.
In the third ward in particular, it's nothing but money down there.
That's
for the most part. Nothing but business down there, and people who are, entertaining themselves, enjoying themselves. It's not an impoverished area.
That's right.
Right? So now the crime element is spilling into downtown, which we've been seeing this happen more frequently. But and this happened in broad daylight?
Broad daylight, yes.
So
that's correct.
Whoever this idiot was, to think that he could just carjack somebody at the Shake Shack in the third ward, jump into a car of a DoorDasher, a woman who's working and obviously has to have her children with her while she's working.
Yeah.
And you jump in the car and you see that you jump in the car of someone who has children. Then you jump out of the car and then you drop your phone.
Yeah.
She grabs the phone, then you run back to try to. I mean, this is like the world's stupidest criminal.
That was the dumbest criminals.
And then, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just your luck, there's an off-duty police officer who is in the Shake Shack, and then he shot the police officer
multiple times.
Boy, you going to jail for a long time.
You are.
Because they're going to catch you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
They're going to catch you.
So thank God he survived. Thank God he survived. Thank God he survived.
That's what I was saying. Like, a lot of people be talking, I was looking at some of the police brutality things that be happening and some of the police misconduct. And the police, they can't afford to do nothing wrong. They got the worst job in the world.
Man,
first of all, they got to go after the criminals and try to save people's lives, and then if they make any mistake, they're going to be scrutinized to the highest level. So the last thing you need is for police to be out here doing anything, that would create more distrust in them right now.
And that's what I said. I mean, it's like when they walk out the door in the morning, just pray that they even make it back home to their families. Their lives are even more at stake,
But that's why I brought up the point. Like, I don't understand why police would do anything that's improper right now, because there's a microscope on there. They got to deal with the hardest situation in the world.
Yeah.
Now, here's a police officer who, we talk a lot about the negative things that go on with police. But here's a police officer who intervened and risked his life for a civilian. So now where you see police officers that are doing negative things and we go crazy over them abusing or violating our rights, what do we say about a police officer who jumps in the middle of a circumstance while he's off duty and ends up getting shot 3 or 4 times to save the life of one of the citizens in the city of Milwaukee? How do we acknowledge them? What do we say about them? Do we still look at them as, the negative element of police? Or do we say, hey, that's just your job? If you got to take a bullet, you take a bullet.
No,
But you realize that this man had to really have a level of commitment to safety and security to intervene and then end up being shot. So it's like, it's just a lot.
It is a lot because he's a father too. He's a human being as well too.
Son,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
For sure, definitely.
But again, the fact that he sacrificed his life,
he did,
to stop this woman.
Yes.
And in many instances, nobody else would have intervened.
Yeah.
And now he's just shot by somebody who. One of the world's dumbest criminals.
Right, definitely. Yeah.
And now you sitting here with bullets in you because you chose to sacrifice your life.
That's right.
for somebody else's life.
For sure.
You know, so I just think that when you have officers out here who are like that,
yeah,
we need to acknowledge that there are some officers who are willing to do the right thing.
mm-hmm.
You know, for real.
Who are willing to go all the way and sacrifice.
Because that's bad.
It is.
But also, that's a sign of things to come.
For sure.
That is a sign of things to come.
35 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock p.m. Speaking of guns, Dennis, all right. Your boy, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Kyle Rittenhouse.
Your best friend.
Look,
all right. So
was mad at Kyle.
I know you love Kyle.
I don't love him. Don't say that. I don't love him.
Well, that's one of your good
I wasn't
friends.
mad at him.
I know. All right, so the case of a man who bought the AR-15 Kyle Rittenhouse used when he shot and killed two protesters in Kenosha was back in court. Did you hear about that?
No, what happened?
Dominique Black, 20 of Racine, was charged in 2020 with 2 counts of intentionally giving a dangerous weapon to Kyle.
Oh, so now they're charging the person who gave him the gun?
Mm-hmm. Prosecutors say say he brought the gun to Rittenhouse, knowing Rittenhouse could not legally buy it for himself. Yes, they are charging him. Oh, really? Black was 18 at the time of the purchase. Yes. Rittenhouse was 17 years old when he shot and killed, of course, the young man and injured the other guy. What's his name? Gage Grosskreutz. Mm-hmm. According to the criminal,
he shoot 3 people.
He did, and killed Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber, and injured Gage Grosskreutz. I believe that's.
So he killed 2 people.
Yes, and injured the other one. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry. According to criminal complaint, Black brought a Smith & Wesson MAP-15 rifle on May 1st, 2020, in Ladysmith Ace Home Center in Ladysmith, Wisconsin. Black was one of the prosecution's star witness in Rittenhouse trial in November. He agreed to testify against Rittenhouse. In exchange for his testimony, prosecutors delayed his case and offered a plea deal on last week. So they're looking to charge him.
Oh, so he's taking a plea.
So so he will pay a $2,000 fine plus court costs. So.
Oh, well.
And yeah.
He out of there.
Yeah, he out. So, but
I mean, take this 2 G's and get out my face.
Right.
So okay.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So they ended up charging him for supplying Kyle Rittenhouse with the weapon that he used to murder. Defend himself and kill 2 people.
Yeah.
And injure another. And the only reason why I say defend himself because they were attacking him.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. What you got over there, Dean?
Nothing.
All right. 38 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock p.m. Again, y'all, don't forget to become our Facebook friend on Facebook.com. It is important. We are trying to build up our platform for HD Radio. All right. We've been on and going, rocking and rolling since when? November, Dennis, right?
Yes.
Since November of 2021. And we are trying to...
Not even trying to.
We are, I should say, we are building this platform to you locally and to the world. So we want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel under HD Radio Online and or Solar City Gospel Radio Show. All right. So Dennis, we want people to also go to our Facebook page and also become our Facebook friend there at HD Radio, Higher Dimension. Help me out, Dennis. I'm getting tongue tied. HD Higher Dimension Radio. I'm sorry.
But
HD Higher Dimension Radio. Download the app. I'm trying to triple task.
You are
triple task. All right.
But HD Radio Online, one word, you can download our app.
That's
afternoon,
right. All right.
Miss Doss.
Okay. So also, Dennis, there's a food alert.
Food alert.
All right. Food alert. Thousands of pounds of ground beef products have been recalled across the country due to E. coli contamination concerns.
Really?
The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Services said more than 28,000 pounds of ground beef products are included in the recall.
Really?
Yes.
So that means that people already consumed this stuff.
Already.
It's already in people's households.
Already.
Or in their digestive systems.
Already.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the items were shipped to retail locations in Arizona, California, Nevada, Oregon, Utah, Washington, and Wyoming. The products include Winco, Walmart, Kroger, and Albertson brands. The raw ground beef items were produced on, they were produced in December of 2021. The products subject to recall and the labels can be viewed. Actually, is on our Facebook page. But yeah, these, like you said, is already in people's homes and people's bodies. So yeah, it's
okay. Hold on.
Yeah.
So you said 25,000.
Yeah.
Pounds.
28,000 pounds.
28,000 pounds
of ground beef products
have been contaminated with E. coli.
Yeah.
Man, look.
Yeah.
You can't tell me.
Yeah.
How does 28,000 pounds of E. coli?
How did it get past?
How does it get past inspectors in the FDA?
Somebody done dropped the ball again.
And all the way to and all the way to the grocery store,
mm-hmm.
and into a person's shopping basket.
Don't know.
And into their refrigerator, and then into their bodies.
Don't know.
Before you recognize that 28,000 pounds of ground beef, contaminated ground beef.
Here we go.
Don't know. Has been distributed throughout the community or throughout the nation.
Yeah.
Man, come on.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's an accident, just like coronavirus.
Absolutely. And Omicron. Oh, Maria. What is it?
All that.
All right. Speaking of that,
all these accidents that are just like critical to
mm-hmm.
people's health,
and
people's survival.
Mm-hmm.
It's just an accident.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just accidentally gave you some poisonous meat.
Yeah.
I just accidentally gave you a virus and your grandmother died from it.
Oh.
It was an accident.
Sad. It's so sad.
I'm gonna start saying it was an accident.
Mm-hmm. It's very sad.
It was just an accident.
Yeah. It's very sad.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm. 42 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock p.m. Good afternoon to you, Zora. That's my nephew. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, Dennis. Also, speaking of that, it's not every day that someone celebrates their 106th birthday. Dorothy Need, a South Philadelphia native, she turned 106 years old on this past Friday. She told the news station that she feels fine, and she's a great grandmother of 9, and she said serving the Lord will pay off, right? And she said she goes to church, of course. And she says she take care of herself and she just do a lot of stuff, and she just loves to be around the house cleaning up, and she just loves to just spend time with family. And she said that she has longevity, and she has a love for, guess what, Dennis?
What?
Big Macs.
Y'all got something in common.
We just got to. That was not funny. That wasn't funny.
Y'all got something in common. I knew it was the reason why you was reading this story.
That wasn't funny. I'm not doing it.
You love Big Macs too, don't you?
I don't eat Big Macs anymore.
Okay.
You need about 1 or 2 of them to gain you some weight over there.
I'm good.
I'm not dealing with you. I am not dealing with you. No, never mind. Never mind. Whatever. I'm not dealing with you. All right, y'all. 44 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock p.m. So we're going to take a quick break. All right?
A quick break.
Yes, we're going to take a quick break.
If we could try to bring
What's that?
The Martin Luther King snippet that we had.
Okay, so we got to fix the sound on it. They said that they didn't hear the sound on that.
Yeah, but they said they started to hear it.
They did?
They sent another text back and said that they could hear it.
They can hear it.
And for those of you who are out there, if you just happen to hear any technical difficulties on your end, please feel free to call in and let us know if anything is going wrong, so that we can make whatever adjustments we need to do. We do need your help with assisting us to make this show as good and as well as it can be. So we welcome your critique as well as suggestion, and we need you to help troubleshoot sometimes, because that's what happens when you're doing online work sometimes. things happen.
So let's see if we can play another Dr. King speech, and let's see now if you can't hear the sound, please inbox us, and then we'll try to fix the situation. All right, it's 45 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock p.m. Coming up at 1 o'clock p.m. We're gonna get Miss Bria Grant on the line. All right. In the meantime, keep it here. Be right back.
The life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its races, with its governor having his lynching with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the word of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the south with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discourse of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all across children be able to sing with new meaning, my country tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring, and if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the hiking Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of village and every hamlet, from every state and every city. We will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty.
It's HD Graphic Design and Print, where they provide innovative and quality designs. They provide custom business cards, flyers, obituaries, event tickets, t-shirts, banners, and more. They are the one-stop shop for all your graphic designs and printing needs. Call today at 414-699-7729. That's 414-699-7729. Or visit them on the web at hdmediagrp.com. HD Graphic and Print. Let them make your next event a memorable one.
And we are back with the Soul of the City Gospel Radio Show, 58 minutes after the hour of 12 o'clock p.m. Good afternoon to you. If you are just now tuning in, thank you for rocking and rolling with us since 12 o'clock through today. It is King's Day, commemorating yet Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dennis. He would have been 93 years young today. Did you know that? I done lost count.
What is that like? Close to Dr. Carter's. I think Dr. Carter's like, no, Mr. Brown is 93. Dr.
Yes.
Carter is what, 90?
Yes, he about 90. Yep. I got
Yes.
a little, yep.
So just think about that. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very strong possibility that Dr. King would have still been alive today
Yes.
if he had not been assassinated
At 39, I believe.
at 39 years old for fighting for the freedom of his people.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I think people take for granted when you talk about Dr. Martin Luther King is that Dr. Martin Luther King was not a man who came from poverty.
No.
He was his family was a well-off, wealthy family.
Yes, they were.
And he did not have to take on the struggles of the Black community or the Black nation in the way that he did. And he did not have to make the sacrifices that ultimately cost him his life. It was because of a desire for him to serve. The desire for him to serve and to see his people fulfilled was greater than his desire to just sustain himself and to live a prosperous life.
Definitely.
Coming from a place of prosperity and coming from a good home and a family structure, he felt that all people deserve to have freedom, liberty, wealth, economic empowerment. You know, all of the things that he fought for, it was because he thought more of others than he thought of himself. And I think that that's something that's very significant that people forget. A lot of times when you look at our leadership and you look at those who fight for our community, a lot of them rise up out of the oppression or rise up out of the negative circumstances, and that is the foundation of their leadership. Martin Luther King Jr. was a person who was well off, who came from a wealthy family, and did not have to take ownership of the ills of the Black nation in the way that he did.
Definitely.
That ultimately cost him his life.
And not even wanting to stop there, he just pretty much set up the plan for us to continue to set up that legacy to move forward from there.
And
not even to stop there, but to move forward from there.
And it wasn't so much that he set it up. He was a part of a coalition and a movement of people who worked collectively to implement, what they saw fit for the Black community moving forward. And he became the face of it. Not only did he sit and be amongst those, he have the opportunity to be amongst those to create the plan, but a lot of times we forget that he was the representation. He was the selected leader that a coalition of people had came together and put together a plan to advance our community, and he wore the burden of what that plan was that ultimately cost him his life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, 1:01 p.m. All right, so we have our next guest on the line, and we're going to bring on Miss Bria Grant. Good afternoon, Miss Bria. Where did she go? Oh, she's on two line.
No,
Hey,
I'm minimizing all my screens here.
Let's try
Can
to
you all
figure
hear and see me fairly well?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you?
Okay, can you all see me well?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Then I'm gonna log out of the other three devices I signed in with. I wanted to make sure I was ready. I didn't hold us
Hey,
up.
no, hey, I dig it. Hey, everybody, if everybody was ready like you, we would never have no technical difficulties.
You were
Yeah,
triple ready.
right. I mean, I do enough Zoom meetings to know sometimes you gotta have a backup to the backup.
I
Yeah,
see.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank
Not a
you.
problem. How are you all? Happy Martin Luther King Day.
Same to
Yes,
you.
yes.
Thank you
I
so
see you
much.
looking all revolutionary over there.
Oh, with my hat,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's January, and so
yeah.
you gotta keep yourself together. But I'm really glad to be with you all today on the show, and to it's really encouraging. It doesn't matter how many times you hear the "I Have a Dream" speech; it just
Mhm.
re-energizes you every time. For me, every time I'm re-energized, I'm recommitted to my commitment to the community and to being able to take the good and the bad because. It's not all peaches and cream, and we know we feel good when we hear the "I Have a Dream" speech, but that was the outward work, right? The
Mhm.
behind the scenes stuff is grueling, is gut wrenching, is discouraging sometimes. But to be able to be reminded of why we do what we do, why we serve, how we serve. I'm glad you all played that this morning, so thank you.
Well, as well, Bria, I'm glad. I'm glad to have you on the show today, on King Day, because one of the things that I've had the opportunity to witness with your work is that as I spoke about Dr. King having a commitment to something greater than himself, and bearing the burden of a community in many ways that he didn't have to, but it was a conviction within him that led to him ultimately losing his life for his leadership and his servitude to our community and making that sacrifice.
Mhm.
I've been able to witness you as a young woman in our community for a number of years now, fighting in that same manner, serving in that same manner, making a commitment to our community in that same manner, and genuinely having a concern for others, that where you make sacrifices, that, where you recognize that that your sacrifices are greater than serving yourself. So I'm
Right.
glad that you were able to come on today
Yeah.
so we could talk about that, because I think that when we look at a legacy of a Dr. Martin Luther King, we have sincere leadership in our community that gets overlooked a lot of times, who are really doing the work that it takes to try to connect the dots and help improve the lives of the people in our community. And you have started your own organization that you've been a part of for some time, and you wear a lot of different hats in the community. So, can we just talk a little bit about Bria Grant? As we get into your organization, and then some of those works that I've been able to be fortunate to see you be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things I will say is not a strength of mine is talking about myself
I get it.
because it, I'm just a vessel, and it's not cliche. It's real for me. Like I'm just a vessel, walking, taking one step forward, doors open because the universe is perfect, and I really connect to my purpose, and so. I am the founder of an organization. It's called Unite WI, formerly Unite MKE, but our work is statewide. It's grown. We have led a lot of efforts around strengthening the workforce of community health workers and leading work around community based care coordination to improve health outcomes for communities of color. And so, in addition to that, I'm a City of Milwaukee Board of Health member. I'm a board member for Milwaukee Crime Stoppers. I serve on the Governor's Council for Child Welfare. And then I, of course, work in my faith-based community and serve in other ways. I have a degree in human services. I'm back in school now to complete my master's in public health at the Medical College of Wisconsin. Because to whom much is given, much is required, right? You can't just say I'm a step out here and leave work and not have tools, the formal tools, as we work in both worlds. And when I say both worlds, our community world that really has been shaped by systems, and the American way of doing things. So when we think about like where we are in our state of being as a people of color, um, the undoing that and the addressing of that, requires not just your own, this is what I feel like should happen, but a true base of knowledge on processes, strategies, to make it happen and to make it real and stick. So that is why I went back to school for my master's in public health. I have two girls, 18 and 11. The community has probably seen them grow because they have been with me in this work, because I'm a mom. You take your children with you. And, I've had lots of mentors in my life help me understand how to balance this. I'm always crediting Miss Janetta Robinson, who was the founder of CYD, Career Youth Development, for just being able to plant the seeds that have grown today. That was my first exposure to addressing community social determinants of health before it was trendy, right? So we have a lot of trendy things happening as it relates to eradicating poverty and addressing all of the issues that our community faces. But Miss Janetta Robinson has been a force and a pillar in my life, that has led me. And how do you interact with, the people that you serve, the politicians that are set in place to help, put structures in place to support the people. Sometimes they put barriers in place, for progress and growth. How do you work with the systems that are here and not going anywhere, right? These institutionalized processes, whether it's academic or government or whatever system it is. And then how do you keep that balance of being you, right? Because one of the things that can happen is when you are dealing with, when you're serving in the gap for so many things, if you are not incubated and protected and grounded in yourself, it can begin to shift you as a person, and you begin to be drawn to, in some ways, what is going to be pleasing to people rather than what the best thing is for the people. And so that's just a little bit about me. I've served in so many spaces, as you shared. I've served, in both the government space and ran for office, which gave a lot of exposure to how do government communicate, which is really really important. Language in not language just I speak Spanish, you speak English, but if you speak government and I speak community and we're not understanding each other, we're not going to make progress. Somebody's not going to get what they need to have done, and usually it's the person or the side that doesn't have as much power, right? So that gave me the opportunity to really understand how does the community need to communicate the work that we do so that it's respected, it's valued, and we can have the autonomy in shaping our own outcomes, the way that we know is best. Because we live this life, we work in this life, we sleep in this life. And when we think about all the social determinants of health, 20% of your health is within the four walls of the clinic, right? The other 80%, meaning, and I talk about the four walls of the clinic, is either genetic or it's a physical condition as addressed clinically. The other 80% is where we work, sleep, eat, and play. So, the stressors that contribute to those things, um, is what's going to help me have overall well-being, not just physical health, where if my housing is stable, then yes, I'll be able to manage my diabetes better. I'll be able to manage my hypertension better. I'll be able to have better mental health. But we want to make sure that all of those pieces are addressed. And so I know I went through some rabbit trails, but that's actually the work of United WI.
Mhm.
And it has definitely grown in a tremendous way. I hadn't quite honestly expected where we are now. But I mean, I guess I didn't have a thought about where we will be. It just was like, just do the work, just keep going forward. And when I think about King and so many of our civil rights pillars, they didn't do this work because they saw this big vision of, oh, I'm gonna have this and I'm gonna have that and people are gonna know me. They was like, what's the right thing to do? And if
Mhm.
that means I gotta take some heat, because let's be mindful, people did not appreciate King when he was here.
Right.
He didn't get his flowers when he was, yeah, he had some movements because the people were oppressed, but there was a lot of folks that looked like him that was like, who is this? What the, why are we,
Right.
and didn't necessarily cooperate, and in some ways was a stumbling block to some of the work. So we know that this work is not all roses. You just go, and whatever happens as a result of doing the right thing, that's the universe.
Mhm.
That is, just the laws of nature in some ways, that you are going to reap the benefit, not just, in a free people, or people being liberated, but that we will grow physically in our businesses and ourselves, and things of that nature. So
Okay. So let me ask you this, Bria, since we can jump right into it. You can hear me? Can you hear me fine?
I can't hear you.
Okay. And let me say this. You didn't mention that you were an Acre graduate.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I am an ACRE graduate, Association for Commercial Real Estate. In fact, we are doing development with my organization, strategy for sustainability. Excuse me, for sustainability of our work is owning properties, and or owning real estate. And one of the things that we said to ourselves here at Unite WI, if we're going to build healthy people and healthy communities, we have to have healthy structures. So if I'm working in a community where it's dilapidated homes and abandoned buildings and litter everywhere, that goes to my well-being, my overall health, and my psyche. I can't even work well if my house is not clean, right? I
Right.
got dishes in the sink. I gotta get those dishes clean before I go to sleep because
That is
it's
so
gonna weigh on me. I'm gonna have a
good.
dream about the fact that my kitchen is not together,
That's
right?
good.
And so if it has we minimize the impact that optics create for us. So if
Yeah.
I'm driving down the street and I'm going down Fond du Lac, and every day I see five different trees wrapped with teddy bears, that
Mm,
plays on your psyche.
that's true.
It impacts you. So when we're talking about motivating the people, they shouldn't have to wake up to litter everywhere.
Hmm.
They shouldn't have to wake up to abandoned houses they burned and they just sitting for decades, just nothing's happening, and the weather is just continuing to bring it down, and all these vacant open lots, or there's nothing that's really helping to stimulate us in a positive, healthy way. So the Acre program has definitely been instrumental in us being able to not just create an unrestricted stream of revenue, because we have an apartment complex, we have a development that we're working on now to help support the financial infrastructure, but it's also transforming our community. We're able to provide healthy housing to people. We're able to provide healthy structures and spaces that people can frequent. So thank you for bringing that up, Dennis. That is also a part of some of the things I've done.
Yeah, I bring it up because I'm a graduate of Acre as well. So, we're alumni. I got to make
Yes,
sure
we
we
are.
send that shout out. So, Bria, as well, when we look at, the history of our fight in our community for civil rights, the history for, the history of struggle to just have equality and have balance in our community as Black people, and the inception of that fight that started with our ancestors, and those have preceded us. Where do you see the challenges? Where do you see the successes of the original intent of our movement, and where we are today as far as what we need to do to continue?
So I think we've been very successful as a people creating a template for liberation, right?
Mhm.
And I say that because the civil rights era and movement created the foundation by which a lot of other groups have said, this is how we get equal rights.
That's
This is
what I
how
just
we get
said.
equal access, right? And so from not just, us as a people of color, but now we have LTGB communities that have, really grabbed hold to that template. And when I say grown leaps and bounds in progress, ahead of us, they definitely taken hold of that. And I say that in the most respectful way, right? Where we fall short is being able to hold on to that template and continue to move the work forward. Sometimes we get this position of arrival, the illusion of inclusion, and then we say, oh, we ain't got to do no work anymore because we have equal rights, which is, an illusion. We have access, which is an illusion. We still need to continue to hold on to that template, build on that template, and execute on what needs to happen, so that we're not just satisfied with being able to um, meet the numbers, check off the box for some of these structures, but that we recognize, like, we gonna create the box. We gonna create our own box.
Mhm.
And it is not them or us, right? But we won't be at the mercy of any entity, any structure, because now we are creating what we need to create, or we're reshaping what needs to be reshaped for communities of color and for everybody, right? One of the things that I'm mindful of is that we don't do all or nothing, or because we become like the oppressor. When we get to a space where we're like, oh, we're going to do all black everything, well, now you sound like them because they just want to do all white everything. That we are not that people. We're inclusive. We recognize that, for one, we're a mixed race. We have, you know, um, for whatever reasons, a lot of reasons, right? We can say that we have all kind of cultures and genetics all mixed up in us, right? And so we have to be mindful that when we move our work forward, that we're bringing on everybody. We're creating a template where nobody is lost. That whether you're a poor white person or a wealthy black person, we all have the access we need to get to a place of wholeness and wellness for ourselves and our family and future generations for that matter.
Let me ask this question. So, in your opinion, how does it benefit us to continue to be inclusive of all people when we are still experiencing the illusion of inclusion, right? As well as we know that we are the architects of what liberation looks like, and every other group has taken on that blueprint, and they only advocate really exclusively for themselves,
Mhm.
and they're not interested in the architects, but they're interested in their own agendas. So how do we remain relevant by continuing to reach out to those who are not necessarily having the same level of interest in seeing us, and in many ways see us as competition to their own successes?
Yeah. So, this is a couple things, right? One, when we think about some of the institutional structures that represent communities of color, they were not built by us. When we think about the Urban League, when we think about the NAACP, like, we had allies that said, "I'm going to use my privilege to create this space where this group of people can have a level of progress." So and even when we think about the Underground Railroad, those homes, those spots, they weren't us, right? And so we have to recognize that we need everybody, and we need to be inclusive. And yeah, you're gonna have some bad players, you're gonna have some bad actors, that, quite honestly, they just gotta die off. There's nothing you can even do. You can't change their heart.
Quite honestly.
You just waiting on them to tick off. Like, wow, okay, they're gone. And
Right.
now we can have a little more progress because they're not a barrier. The other thing is, like, I have a biracial niece. I
Mhm.
can't do anything about that. I
Right.
can't do. I need to create a space where she too is going to be welcomed, and her mama, because I need her mama to do well so she can take care of her the way that she needs to take care of her, right? And so when we start thinking like this,
Mhm.
um, it does help us understand why we can't just say all black everything. One of the things that happened recently was the shift of the name of the Office of African American Affairs, right? And so is now the Office of Equity and Inclusion, I think it is.
Mhm.
Which, when we think about why that's important, are we going to create an office for every culture? Are we going to say, okay, now we got an office for the Hmong, we got an office for Latinos, we got an office for LTGB, we have all of these offices, and then where do you put the mixed people? Where do they sit, right? So when we start thinking about what makes sense, what's best strategy, we have to be inclusive, and we have to recognize that when we're doing the right thing, we are going to win. We're going to win. And we can't, and this is just my own, I can't worry about the rest. There's
Mhm.
just too much to worry about to say, oh, okay, we helping them, but they didn't help us. That's the oppressed mind. That's what the oppressor. That's how they think, to say we just gonna help ourselves. But we know that, what does it say? Rising tides lifts all boats.
Mhm.
That is a true statement. When we do for the least of these, it is going to benefit all of these, and we have to hold on to that. To say all of me and nobody else is a level of hate that is so subtle and so damaging. We don't even comprehend what it does.
So
And
let me ask you this. Now, so our issues as well, let's say the issues of the black community, uh, in many ways, or the Hispanic community or the white community, or just every ethnicity has their own endemic problems, right? Like systemic problems that
mhm,
are like specific to them, right?
mhm.
And how do we be specific? How do we deal with those specific things that are affecting the black community, that are specific to the black community? Because again, all races have different things that they're dealing with, even though we all have the same basic needs. They're from the perspective of our ethnic needs and from the things that happen in our communities, they're different. How are we able to focus on those specific things that need to happen for the black community, as well as show an interest in the Hispanic community, the Jewish community, the white community, all of the above? How do we not commingle our issues? Because I think that that's one of the challenges as well, is that a lot of times we try to make it seem like our issues are the same as everyone else's, and then we start to handle them in that manner, and we're not looking at the cultural significance or the cultural relevance in the issues that we're challenged with, and we're not able to zero in on our issues from a culturally relevant perspective because of the fact that we're commingling our issues.
So here is a question I will pose, right? Because I haven't been able to come up with this, and maybe you can help me.
Mhm.
Name one issue that we singularly deal with that absolutely nobody else deals with. We can't think of one outside of the fact that we don't, as African Americans, as Black Americans, we don't have a culture, right? Our culture is American culture.
Mhm.
Outside of that, name one thing that only we alone deal with. Systematic racism is the issue and enemy of everybody, quite
Mhm.
frankly. There is no one issue that only Black people deal with.
Mhm.
And when we start to process these things well or better, right, in a real way, we can better understand why we can't. And it's not, let me be mindful because anybody that knows me know I'm for my people.
Mhm.
100% down, right? I'm gonna make sure that if I get a dollar and I gotta spend that dollar, I'm gonna try to spend it with my people first.
Mhm.
And I will say that can be bittersweet because sometimes you can't afford that dollar not to be as productive as it needs to be.
Right.
And when we have so many issues sometimes that we don't necessarily utilize that dollar very well. And so I got to go find another dollar because I tried it and it didn't work with my people. So now I got to get another dollar to go find to
Mhm.
work with some more of my people. But but the reality of the matter is I'm for my people. I understand where we are. I know the oppressor because I
Mhm.
work with the oppressor regularly. I'm not naive to these things. But I also have, and this is Soul of the City show, I also have a spiritual foundation
Mhm.
that requires me to include everybody.
Right.
So
And now,
that
and I understand that. And I guess what I'm asking is, so okay, you made the point that oppression is the enemy, which I totally agree with that. But I'm also trying to understand, do you feel as though the issues that are affecting the Hispanic community, the issues that are affecting the white community, the issues that are affecting the LGBTQ community, do you feel that those issues are synonymous with the issues of the African American community? Are they all the same or are there differences?
so again, it's yes and right. So we
Mm-hmm.
have differences because, like I shared, Black Americans don't have a culture. Our culture is American culture,
Mm-hmm.
and so because of that, we struggle with an identity, a collective identity
Right.
that we can have. That is an issue. How do we address that? I don't know. All we can do is take one step forward to say, let's just try to make us all as healthy as possible to resurrect morals and values that have been systematically, targeted to be stripped from us.
Mm-hmm.
500 years of efforts to strip us of our ability to have morals and values. That's a heavy lift.
Right.
Not only is it a heavy lift that has affected us, it's trickled out to other people, to other groups. So when I think about this, and again, I'm always open to learning more.
Mm-hmm.
If you or somebody in the listening audience has one issue that only Black people suffer from, let me know so I can target, so I can focus on that, right? But
Mm-hmm.
we don't. There is no one issue that only we are subjected to. Even when we think about the LTGB community, we have Black people that are of LTGB community,
Right.
right? We have our dynamics of our dynamics and culture related to Hispanic communities is very very similar.
Right.
I will say that our Hmong population has a little bit of difference,
Mm-hmm.
and that's could be very very evident. But most of them have come to this country holding on to their original culture,
Right.
and in some ways they haven't the community itself has not been in America long enough to have been impacted by the stripping away of their morals and values. I think that's probably the greatest strategy that uh, systematic racism, or however we want to identify, has been successful in. Or we think about the fact that we don't have moral compasses in our families anymore. Thinking about the Burger King debacle,
Right.
your daddy set you up to get you to rob your place of the say. And I don't know the details, right? We
Right.
just only go with what was said. But like this is what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do we? I just watched this article. This mother, she was sentenced to 15 years for killing her 3-year-old son because she was driving drunk. These are the issues. The baby didn't have a seatbelt on. These are
Right.
the issues that we're dealing with when we think about the morals and values that have been stripped from our community, and we haven't been able to identify our own identity, and our own culture. Like outside of that, help me understand what the one issue is that the Black community has that nobody else is experiencing.
Well, I think again, I think that the way that you're looking at it and the way that you're frameworking it, it makes it very interesting to examine the entirety of where we're at right now and not just look at it from one perspective. And I think that's really, really important. And again, that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk with you on a day like today when we talk about, the work of a Dr. Martin Luther King, who a lot of people um, they shunned him or they didn't necessarily agree with him because of his perspective of inclusion and integration, right? And I think you make some very good points where others will come in and argue the point from their own perspective of the significance of culture, maintaining and reinforcing the identity of who we are culturally, reestablishing that moral construct that has been stripped from us, and solely focusing on that as far as the restoration of who we are as a people. I think some people will have a very strong argument for that way of looking at it. But again, as you stated, the relationship that we have with Hispanic, there are Black Hispanics, there are Black people who are white, there are Black people who are gay. All of the above, I think, again, helps us to understand that sometimes you can't just look at it from one perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So the importance of a person like yourself who has chosen health as the core of how you address the issues in our community, I think is really important, because a lot of these things that we're dealing with are public health crises that we're challenged with in many different ways, right?
Yep.
So when you have an organization such as like you have that is approaching it from the perspective of health, and health does not necessarily see a race. You look at what are the issues that are affecting health in our community, and you approach solving the problem from what the root of those health issues are. And one of the things that you work on within your organization is CHWs, community health workers. And I think community health workers are not being recognized, or the movement of community health workers is not being recognized for the level of significance that it should have in our community, when we look at individuals who are coming out of every type of circumstance, no matter what it is, being or potentially becoming the experts to solving their problems and giving the resources and the tools to be able to do that. Let's talk about your approach from that perspective.
Yeah. So a couple things before I go there. One, I'm from the South, and this is gonna sound a little contradictory, but I believe in groups wanting to be with their own groups, right? And so I don't want to say, because sometimes language trips us up. I don't want to say segregation is okay, but if I want to be amongst my people, that's where I want to live, it should be okay. Nobody should be forced to say, "Oh, you should go and move in with the white people," or anything like that. And even when we think about, I'm just going to just sidebar on this for a little bit. Even when we think about when we had the conversation about integration, the issue was equal resources, equal access to resources.
Right.
We want the same books you got. We don't want the hand-me-down books. And because we were so dang on powerful, instead of giving us equal resources, they said, let's just let a few of them in. We don't want to give them their own new books because they already leaps and bounds ahead of us with the old stuff, with our hand-me-down. Imagine if we gave them the equal access that we have. They're going to leave us behind. These are things that we don't necessarily think about when we think about integration and what that really did to us, right? The damage in some ways it did to us, So I wanted to highlight
Well,
that.
I think, but that's a great point because, again, like I said, we could, there are others, like I said, who will come in and have a very strong argument, against integration and, again, the inclusion of others when it comes to how you move forward to improve yourself. And when you look at when we were when we came here, and it seemed as though we had less resources, coming out. My dad was born in 1923, right, in Mississippi. They had to fight a very different fight than what we have to fight today, right? So you look at just our elders who came from that place and what they were doing then during the Great
Hmm.
Depression and all of that. When Black people owned their own hospitals, they owned their own banks,
Yes.
you could own their own insurance companies, own
Yep.
their own cities, own their own towns. Now, some of that we're getting back to today, and you see, some of those things happening today and the potential of those things. But in segregation, we have more unity, we have more collective identity, more understanding. It seems then than we do now at times.
Yeah, and that's what we lost, right? When we talk about segregation or integration, we lost the desire, or in some we lost the desire for that because the fact that they had more resources than us made what they had attractive. And so again, it was about equal resources, equal access, and when we think about this equalness, I should be able to live in my own community and still have the same access as people in other communities. That's
Right.
all. That's all we're talking about right now, right? We're talking about equal access, equal resources. And when we think about community health workers, in some ways, one of the things I believe is that first, community health workers are truly the bridge to community health. And when we think about health, is again where you work, sleep, eat, and play. It's not just the physical. That's the byproduct of what we do. You're gonna have healthy physical health outcomes because your overall social health areas are addressed, and that's the model that we operate and flow from. I believe that CHWs will be the builders of the middle class for communities of color. I believe it is the ownership that we need in the public health and health spaces that again is all trendy for systems, right? Oh, the pandemic. Let's go and tap into the community for resources and solutions to address the disparities that already existed before the pandemic came, right? And they knew these disparities existed, but it wasn't touching them. So when we get a virus that is no respect of person, right? That everybody can get this virus. Now it's an issue. We need them to be healthy so that everybody can be healthy, right? So now we take a greater priority, and whatever strategy is going to work, um, people want to tap into that. So I had this thought, this theory that I'm working to coin, right? And it's the cotton gin theory. And so the reason why I was processing this, because again, like, I'm not naive to what we're experiencing. I see a therapist because I work with white people, and it's very stressful. I know it sounds funny when I say it, but when I say I'm serious, I'm very, very
No,
serious.
I get it. I get
It's
it.
a heavy thing to go and hear and see the mindset and to see the condescending behavior and conversation and still have to be kosher about it, right? Because really, I'm not that far from Egypt. I'm still growing in a lot of ways. People see me, and yes, I'm kind, I'm loving. I like to see the best of people, but at the end of the day, I'm from the block, and there's some things that I really struggle with when I get in some of these spaces where I'm like, if this white lady tell me again that she don't like stuff from Milwaukee, I'm gonna snap because all I can see is that I'm the only black girl in this space, and you essentially am the only black girl from Milwaukee. I'm only personal. So I really see that as an attack on me, but I can't receive it like that because they operate in such level of ignorance. They just have privilege to operate in high level of spaces, but they're not always smart sometimes. That's why they tap into the community and throw us these pennies to get them the strategies that they write in their reports and put their name on it, and then it's theirs, and we just fighting for crumbs. That's a whole nother conversation. But that's where the cotton gin theory comes from, right? So Eli Whitney um, is what who was identified as the inventor of the cotton gin. But it was not Eli Whitney that invented the cotton gin. It was slaves that invented the cotton gin. Why? Because the burden of slavery was so great that our creativity kicks in to minimize distress that we have, right? So imagine you picking cotton, and your people from Mississippi. I'm from Mississippi. I'm very very close to my home. I've been there in the dead heat of summer where you don't get no relief. And imagine being in the middle of the field where there is not a shade tree, and you have to work from can't see to can't see. That means from before the sun come up to after the sun go down. You gotta have your baby on your back. You don't get no break. Ain't no labor laws where I get 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute lunch. None of that, right? And I gotta sort through the seas. I done hit my ankle with this. I'm just I'm brutal. This work is brutal. How do I improve these situations? Because the master is not gonna get off my back. I gotta produce this many pounds a day. How do I create some relief for myself? So these brilliant, brilliant. We've invented so many things that we haven't been able to get credit for because we didn't have the access, right? So here you create this device that helps you with your production of being able to get your work done fast and hopefully get done for the day. Because you didn't produce all the pounds of cotton you need to produce for the day. You didn't sorted the seeds from the fibers, and now you hope to go home before the sun sets and just relax. And what happened was, because of the invention of the cotton gin, one was not credited to the individuals that created it. The master patented it and produced it and sold it and all this and that. But not only did that happen, but now we had the burst of the industry of cotton, because now they can get more done because they have this invention that really was designed to alleviate the burden of slavery for the people that were doing the work. Fast forward today, happens still right now. The burden of poverty causes us to create strategies and infrastructures that's hopefully going to release the burden of poverty. But what happens? We have the funders, we have the government, we have all these people that say, "Oh wow, that's a great idea. We're going to take it and then we're going to sell it back to you in an RFP, request for a proposal," for people that know what RFP is.
Right.
This is what we continue to experience. So my thought is, for community health workers, we're going to own our own health. We're going to advise and give. We're not going to let people patent our work no more. Mm-mm. You need the community to improve all the health and social ills of America and of society. And let me be mindful, community health workers is new to Western civilization, but this is an ancient process. The village concept has allowed for us to be a resilient people. This is how we are still here. Some people surprised that we're still doing well. They're like, dang, them niggas, them black people still around. How are they still thriving? And it's because we've had this silent infrastructure that when I get there, my knowledge is going to help the people coming up. I'm going to make sure I pour into them, and I make sure that they know the ropes and they know how to navigate these infrastructures and these systems in a way that they can be healthy. Martin Luther King, a community health worker, we didn't see him like that, right? I am going to I'm going to help you understand, how do we do this in a nonviolent way. I'm going to create a template, which I hate to say now has been adopted by people that, it's trendy. And now we're going to put it in an RFP and we're going to give you all a couple of crumbs and we're going to create a different type of division because you're going to only get $10,000 and you're going to only get $10,000 and we're going to get $50,000, the government, the funders, right? And the reality of the matter is, I hate to do these rabbit trails, but the reality of the matter is they can't survive without us.
Right. Right. Well, and again, because this is probably like the meat and the core of why I wanted to talk with you today, as you're addressing the significance of the community health worker, because I believe that, a lot of the issues in our community, as you said, a lot of the solutions to the issues in our community don't get attention unless they're trendy, right? So I
Mhm.
was one of the first community health workers. I went through the
Mhm.
training and it was trendy at the time. And, they started fighting over the institution and who was going to lead it. And it was just a bunch of, once it started to get recognized and dollars started to come down, there became just a lot of unnecessary bickering about what direction the work was going to be going in, right? And it lost a lot of its momentum in the very beginning stages, but the work was very, very significant. And it really, for me, it was a disappointment because, as we started to be recruited to become community health workers, like you said, that blueprint was something that is something that's very significant when you talk about being able to truly be effective in our community, and not only be effective, but help people empower themselves to be the difference, to be the change in our community from the inside out,
Yep.
right? So like most things, it went through those initial challenges, and then, fortunately, someone like yourself, became a part of that movement and a part of that community, and has been able to sustain and revive and revitalize the significance of it, right? So how do we continue to take something that we know is an effective solution and stop it from being co-opted and manipulated, but really allow for it to be something that we can give to people so that they can see themselves out of their circumstances, and the fact that we're understanding that we're addressing the public health crises that exist in our community, and we can see past color by approaching it from looking at public health. We can see past a lot of different things if we just identify where our sicknesses are, where our ills are, and recognize that the people who are suffering the most from those things are the most qualified to overcome those things if you put them in the right positions to succeed.
Yeah, so I will say you definitely described, what I'm experiencing. One of the reasons, again, I see a therapist because, they truly are trying to co-opt. I mean, the work, the reality
Yeah,
of the matter is it's self-preservation, right? If
yeah,
if you got something that I think I can make sure that I stay relevant on, I want it,
yeah,
right? And if I have the power to get it because I have the purse strings to manipulate the situation, I have the access to the powers that be that do the decision making. I'm just gonna, do what people that have power and privilege do, and that is try and co-opt it. And so let me share because for the worker CHWs, while I have Unite WI now, prior to this, I did work with another organization, AHAC, which is
right,
where I think you were trained as a community
yes,
health worker, and so I helped to build that out, right? And one of the things that I'll never forget is when I was working with some of the folks at the state, like they were like, "You people can't do this,"
mm,
and I was just like, "Well, what do you mean by you people?" Now I'm not naive. I know what it means when you say you people, but I need you to say what it means when you say you people. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna prove it. I'm gonna prove that we can do this. And that's actually part of the how Unite WI got started.
mm,
I in the wheelhouse of the organization I worked in, CHW was a small portion of the overall health careers for minorities, right? So the goal is for that organization, AHAC, Area Health Education Centers, is that we have more people of color that are doctors, that are nurses, that are serving in these spaces, because here's the reality of the matter is this has been a white dominated space. Public health, epidemiologists, it is like combing through a haystack to find a needle, to find a black epidemiologist, to find a black statistician. And these are great careers, right? But they are the ones that interpret the numbers, they interpret the data, and their perspective is laid out for what public health direction needs to look like, right? So, one, that's an issue. So that was the goal. Community health workers was a small subset of that work. And I'm like, we really need to build this out in a great way. So I presented a proposal to the state to say, I want to demonstrate that we can not only do this work, but we can do it well and better than you all have ever seen. And so I engaged about 9 folks to be trained in chronic conditions self-management workshops that were community liaison. These were people from Pastors United, just good-hearted folks. They just want to help. They just want to talk to. I mean, they do this anyway. They talk to the neighbors about, why you need to eat better and why you need to exercise and how to keep your lawn together. So I'm like, you doing this anyways. Let me just layer this formalized training to help us manage people with chronic conditions. Success, right? Great success. Oh wow, Bria, we had no idea that this would happen like this. And so I'm just sitting there like, oh, okay, this is what we do in our community. It's what we do anyways in our community. We should be compensated for it. And so that was my argument. So now that you all see that those people can do it, how are we going to compensate them accordingly? Not the pennies, not the pennies on the dollar. You getting $100,000 and then you gonna get them five.
Right.
We're not gonna do that.
Or a gift card.
Huh?
I said, or a gift card.
Listen, yes, yes, that is what they. Yes. Oh, it'd be great. We can give them a stipend, or we can give them a gift card. And like in their mind, they think that's doing something.
Right.
I had to ask them like, how much you get paid? Because
Right.
this is public records. I don't want to have to go and pull public records.
Right.
What your salary is, because you got the whole strategy from them.
Right.
And then you're gonna throw them pennies. We're not gonna do that. So we were
Right.
successful there. So now we're like, oh, okay, we can demonstrate our value. We can demonstrate this outcome. Remember, government and community communicates differently. Government is about data and evaluations and outcomes. We are about feel good stories, and we got to make the two match,
Right.
right? So now we have these CHWs where we're able to demonstrate the data, demonstrate the outcomes through the data of the work that they've done, and you're going to put it into your grant. And quite honestly, we were awarded a very significant grant based off of what we were able to demonstrate. So of course, you got to do the work first.
Right.
But once we do the work, the advocacy of paying us our value is there, right? So it was like a fight to recognize that they can do the work. And then when they saw that they can do the work, they wanted to own it. And it was like, no, we can't do that. We
Mhm.
can't do that. And even with, and we partner with AHAC very, very closely. Even in that, it's like we can't be connected to a system, whether it's academic or government. We need to be able to have a truly community-based approach to being able to build out the workforce of community health workers where they can own the work themselves. And that's really what we've been committed to, right? You have to utilize structures the way that they're structured because that's just the nature of the beast. Federal dollars have to flow through certain government entities to come down to the community. It requires congressional change for us to be able to get direct funding from federal government in some ways, right? So that's a longer haul. You got to work with what you got. And so that's how we've been able to build and grow and continue to demonstrate our outcomes. So from there, we can now show we had 9 community health workers that showed outcomes. Okay, now we got 20 community health workers that show outcomes. Now we got 40 community. Now we can train 200 plus folks as community health workers. We need to make sure the dollars match because they're doing the work, they should be compensated.
Right.
This is how you build the workforce and not compensated at $11 an hour. No, because that's not what you get. And if we're going to do all of the work, we got to make sure people can take care of their own homes while they're taking care of the homes and families of others, right? And so that's how we've been able to say, you're not going to co-opt this because that's what they've been trying to do. In fact, I'm not even going down a rabbit trail of the issues working with state government to own the work of community health workers. And it has been a heavy issue where, we've had to get legislatures involved, senators, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the DHA secretary. Like, we had to pull in some heavy folks and say, wait, look, this is what they're trying to do. This is not okay. And if you were true about equity and inclusion, you wouldn't even be trying to do this. You would encourage the ownership of the community. But is it just a checkbox? Is it just a talking point for you all? Because now we have to hold you accountable. And here is where the rubber meets the road. Sometimes holding people accountable puts your check in jeopardy.
Right.
And so, am I really true to this work? By saying I'm going to say what needs to be said, regardless of what you feel like you're doing. And they've done some things. I remember once I wrote an email because I was like, I just don't believe how in this department, I'm not gonna name the department in the state, in this department, you guys demonstrate such obvious racism and nobody holds you all accountable. After that email went out, whatever happened with our payment was like, oh, we don't know what happened with their payment, Bria. And it was just like, I know what happened. Y'all got mad.
So let me say this. You want to say something, right?
Yeah, I just want to just a sidebar when you just going back when you were talking about the community health workers. I don't know, just a sidebar, I don't want to jump off the subject, but hopefully it's on the subject concerning the health and well-being of the community health workers. I know there was I think it was a news segment weeks ago about the health and well-being of the community health workers if they caught COVID. Their health was at stake. That if they caught COVID, that they had to. I think their jobs were in jeopardy. That they would lose their jobs, or they couldn't come back to work, or I think it was a news segment, Dennis. I think it was. I think if I had a friend that ended up losing her job, that if she didn't come back to work, that she would lose her job.
So she's talking about the mandates coming down from the state for health workers,
right? For health,
which is a little bit different than what we're talking about.
Oh, okay, that's what I figured. Oh, that's different. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But as you recall, they were talking about the mandates for healthcare workers. Getting the COVID shots, and if they didn't get them in a certain time, they would be removed from their jobs, or they would be fired, or something of that nature. And again, that's a little different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a little different.
But let me touch on that, right? This is why it's so important that this is community owned, because we don't have that bureaucracy, right? Where the government shut down. I mean, we had one hospital system that we partner with, and they were just like, oh my goodness, Bria, can we tap into the community health workers because we are not allowed to engage with any of our families anymore.
Right.
This is the beginning of the pandemic. Now, the reality of the matter is, I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but you're dealing with the most vulnerable population. How do you create this blanket rule across the hospital that nobody can engage with the families that you all are serving?
Right.
But because we are community based, our partners, and let me recognize that we partner with more than 24 community-based organizations who house community health workers to get this work done. So we are not doing this by ourselves. We have clinical partners, we have community-based partners that rock with us. They're dope. They are committed. And when the pandemic happened, they ramped up like 2,000 times to say we can't let our people suffer because we'll be the first to go. Quite honestly, we were. We were. I mean, the disparities that were already known just were exacerbated as a part of the pandemic. And those those community health workers, because they weren't tied to a system,
Right.
had the autonomy to say, you know what, I'm going to go drop this meal box off on their porch and give them PPE equipment, make sure that they have all the things, if they need understanding on where to get tested, what the vaccination, all of those pieces, the community health workers didn't stop. In fact, we're just, getting into a place where our community health workers are like, man, how do we take a break now? Because for 2 years almost, we've been going nonstop, nonstop. And it's crazy because sometimes we're communicating with people in systems and they on 2 week vacation. And it's like, wait, did you just take a 2 week vacation? Like, and they done at 5 o'clock on every day. Like, they ain't getting no calls, no nothing, right? So it's like our community health workers didn't have the stressors of dealing with the system on top of trying to work with their families. And while we provide the education, you want to make sure your families you work with understand vaccination, understand COVID, understand prevention, and not just around COVID, but understand how to maintain their health, healthy eating, dieting, or exercise, making sure that we're minimizing our stressors, like all of those other pieces in addition, because our chronic conditions didn't stop because the pandemic happened.
Right.
Like people still had dialysis appointments that they needed to get to, right? Folks still needed to go to work at the grocery store or PCW, personal care workers. Like we could not leave the house, right? And even a stay-at-home order was an order of privilege. I even had to recognize for myself, I can order everything I need online and never leave my house. I got a washer and dryer. I got a working stove and refrigerator. I can order DoorDash if I want something fancy. I can order Instacart if I need to go grocery shopping. I literally don't have to leave, but that ain't the plight of many people in our community. They don't have a working washer and dryer. They don't have proper refrigeration. And guess what? I gotta go to my neighbor's house because I need some eggs to cook breakfast for my kids this morning. I need some milk. We're a communal people, so we really thrive on each other. That's that whole village structure and fabric that has helped us to be resilient. So our community health workers were fortunate enough to have the autonomy of being able to continue the work that they needed to do on behalf of the families. And this is why this is such important work. We don't know what's coming down the pipeline. Pandemic is one thing, many more things could happen in the future that we want to be able to respond to quickly and efficiently without, interrupting the somewhat normalcy of life for folks.
Well, I think, and I'm glad that Soraya brought up the circumstance of the healthcare workers and what they're going through as it relates to the mandates and COVID and how their positions of employment are being in jeopardy. And then there's a contrast between a community health worker, as you stated, who has the autonomy and who is not necessarily connected to those institutions and can still provide a level of service and resource to those who are in need. And I think that it's a testament to how important when we talk about community health workers and the movement and the whole understanding of a community health worker, how important it is that we continue to learn about the work and help people to understand how they're already fulfilling this work, these roles. So like when you talk about people who are personal home in people's homes, and they're caregivers.
Personal care workers.
Yeah, personal care workers.
Personal
Those
care.
are community health workers, you know,
Yep.
and just so many other situations that are occurring where people are taking care of others or working to serve others, and they don't understand that they're acting in this capacity. So one of the things that what I like to do with the time that we have left, Bria, and I definitely want to make sure that we have the opportunity to continue this conversation with you and bring you back on, because I think it's really, really important. But how do we support what you're doing in the community, right? And help people to understand how they can contact you, how they can work with you, how they can learn more about what a community health worker is, and then be informed on the progress you're making. Because many times you're somewhere, like you said, the only person in a room advocating for the collective, and we don't even know that. So, you know, how do we do a better job of supporting the work that you're doing, being informed, so that we can use our voices to be a strength collectively with you?
So I don't know how to put it in the chat, but our website is weareunitewi.org.
Yes, I
encourage
have it on the screen right now. I
Oh,
have it on the
awesome,
screen right
awesome.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, so I encourage folks to go to our website, become a community health worker. I think that's probably the best strategy for us. We really, really need to build our community up. And quite honestly, we are doing the work of making sure we can provide for our community health workers. That's where we serve in as a gap, right? We want to be able to be the conduit between community and systems where we can transfer wealth to our community to do the work of helping our community be healthy. That is what is going to be important. That's what's going to shift this Titanic of our situation around. So please go to our website. weareunitewi.org. We have 3 trainings scheduled for this year, one happening next month. We have training dollars to support people that would like to become a community health worker but don't have the funds for that. And quite honestly, it's a cliche, but each one reach one, right? Talk first of all, make sure you are healthy as possible, right? As healthy as your genetic system allows you to be, right? Meaning we have a lot of stressors in our life that we can mitigate ourselves. We can manage that will bring us into whole health. And of course, sometimes we get diabetes and hypertension. You know, we're prone for those things. But even if we manage those well, now I can be a help for somebody else that is struggling. If I've learned how to bring my A1C down from 11 to 6,
Yeah.
that I have a template to help somebody else understand how to bring your A1C down to a manageable condition. If I've learned how to mitigate my blood pressure where it was 189 over 50, and now I done brought my blood pressure in to something manageable, or 140 over 89, I'm sorry, that's unmanageable blood pressure. But I can bring it into somewhere it's something manageable. I can help my fellow neighbor, somebody else that is struggling. If I know how to have a healthy pregnancy, I've had 2 babies, nurse my babies. One of the things I have to contribute to their wellness is nursing. I believe my baby's been healthy because I ate well during that period. I was committed. It was a lot of work. But one of the things, they didn't deal with ear infections. They didn't have colds. Even now, my 18-year-old, my 11-year-old, when they get sick, they be like, "Whoa, what's this?" Because they are not accustomed. They're not accustomed to that. They haven't had any real health issues because I was focused on making sure I had a healthy pregnancy. And then I helped other women have healthy pregnancies and understand why it's important for you to nurse, understand why you can't be worried about all these things because that impacts your baby and you want to have a healthy delivery, no low birth, you want to go full term. We can help each other when we do these things ourselves, right? And this is really the basis of community health work, that I've gone through this process of understanding how to get emergency rent assistance. So I can help somebody else get emergency rent assistance and get stable housing. And I know how to obtain a job. So now I can help somebody else obtain a job and keep a job and understand how do you deal with this difficult employer. Because at the end of the day, you need an income so that you can keep your house, so you can keep your sanity. Like, this is how we get this work done. And so having a formal structure for how to connect people to resources is what we train people to do. You already have your experience, which is your value. That is the most valuable thing. This is why funders always want us to share the stories. How did you all do that? Please share a story so that we can see, right? Our experience is the value we bring to the table that nobody can take from us. You can't patent my experience. And so go to our website, register to be a community health worker, shoot me an email, inbox me, Bria Grant. I'm not hard to find. Literally, I'm not hard to find. You just go to my Facebook page. But that is what we can do to help move this work forward, Dennis.
Bria, I just want to say thank you. Again, we can have this conversation for the rest of the day, actually. But I want to save some for later. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you are very busy. You are doing some phenomenal things in our community. And, I just want you to know that I recognize your work and I appreciate seeing you be consistent with the things that you've been doing in the community. So it was important for me to just be able to have a conversation with you to kind of catch up on where Bria Grant is today. 2022, Happy New Year and all that good stuff.
Yes.
But again, we have there's a lot of work to do moving forward, and I'm at the place where I've been on the front line for a very long time. And, you have your ups and your downs in this work, as you said, but we're at a place now where we have to renew ourselves and be stronger for the things that are coming. And I think, I want to make sure that we're using this platform as an opportunity to link those voices, and identify voices such as yourself, organizations such as yourself, and continue to build coalition, around sincere people who know what they're doing. And they don't know what they're doing because it's trendy. They know what they're doing because they're really experts in the subjects and matter of which they're working. So you are that person to me, and we're going to continue to reach out to you. I would like to see a stronger partnership between Soul of the City and your organization.
Yes.
But also, if you have any, whatever you're doing in the future, we want you to just please take us into consideration for being the platform to get the messaging out.
Absolutely, Dennis. I appreciate both of you. And I already have some thoughts about how we can support this work that you all are doing, as well as better get the message out. I'm committed to transferring wealth to our community.
Yeah.
I got some great thoughts for us. We love to be able to be a sponsor, and other things as well. So let's make sure we connect offline.
Okay, we definitely will. I'll definitely be in touch. And again, thank you. Happy King Day.
Yes.
And like I said, I have to say this. I'm fascinated with people like you. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just you are rare. You are a rare gem in our community because you're overcoming, you're sacrificing, you're embodying what a Dr. Martin Luther King stood for. And when we are able to have conversations with you and see the record of success that you're having, and the commitment that you're having, that's when we can say we are successful in the things that we're doing. We don't have to keep owning failure, but we can look at people like you and say, we have successes because of a Dr. Martin Luther King,
Absolutely.
So thank you again, Bria. I'll definitely be in touch.
That was so kind. So kind.
Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm going to keep listening in. But have a good day, everybody. Happy 2022.
Yes,
all right.
ma'am.
Thanks again.
I'll be in touch.
All righty.
All right. God bless. Wow. That was amazing.
That was amazing. And that was a lot.
She said some really good stuff. All I could sit back and just soak it all in. Like, she's amazing. That was Miss Bria Grant. She's the founder of Unite MKE / Unite Wisconsin. If you would like to become a community health worker, you can go to her website. It is on the screen at weareunitewi.org. The phone number is 414-435-0506. And I was on the website doing the interview. I was on the website and I was looking at some information. And she gives a breakdown of everything like asthma, care coordination, COVID, chronic condition, cancer. I mean, like everything is like on here that you need to know
Well,
about training. And I mean,
well, so right, the thing is that that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to talk to Bria.
yeah,
And, you know, we have people who are watching online, but you know,
Mhm.
people who are
Yes.
listening online who
Definitely.
didn't get a chance to necessarily see
Right.
see the
Mhm.
interview. Of course, you can go back and you'll be able to see this on Facebook
Definitely.
and on YouTube as
Mhm.
well. But for those of you who are listening, you know, again,
Mhm.
the reason why I wanted to have an interview with Bria is because I have the opportunity to be on the front line in different ways in
Yes.
this community.
Mhm.
And I've been behind the scenes. I am behind the scenes. I'm in the front. I'm on the ground. I'm everywhere. And that's a rare position that I have to where I have a broad perspective of who is who and what's going on in the community. And a lot of times I'm kind of like an outcast because I may be connected to the information, but I'm not in anybody's group. So people don't necessarily know how to take me, but I've been doing the work for so long
Mhm.
where I can identify without prejudice
Okay.
who is sincerely working in our community.
Okay.
And when you talk about a person like a Bria Grant,
Mhm.
I've seen her sincerely working in our community
Definitely.
and working strategically in a way where she can be effective and have the greatest impact. And for her, I haven't seen her necessarily, you know, wear this face of fraudulence
Mhm.
to where she has to uh, play, go along to get along.
Okay.
You know, I've seen her be an outcast. I've seen her stand on her own island,
Yes.
but I've seen her work in a field that is specific to her and take ownership of that and utilize that work and her commitment to that work to make a difference.
Yes.
You know, and when we talk about community health workers, many people don't understand the significance of that work and the role of that work when we talk about how we change, you know, the infrastructure of negative things that are happening in our community.
Mhm.
And because someone like her is doing it and maybe not somebody else who may have a little bit more recognition or a little bit more popularity, you know, people want the recognition and popularity. They don't necessarily want the effectiveness.
You know what? And you said the key word, recognition.
Yeah.
And alongside, and just to interject, alongside with recognition, I think along with that word comes with undervalued. They're not as valued as they should be.
And again is why I believe why I felt it was important to talk to
I thought that was great.
Ms. Bria Grant because I think she's undervalued.
Absolutely.
But I know the work that she's doing is the work that can be the catalyst to change.
Absolutely.
And remember, I was saying that we always, you know, we talk about the issues that are plaguing the community, and you know how some people just feel like there's no turning back. We can't change, or we can't come out of this. And I always say, no, I'm very optimistic that if we talk to the right people, if we do the right things, if we connect with the right individuals who are getting things done and quit dealing with the fraudulent
it
people
can and it will
who are pretending to get things done, these situations can change overnight.
They can.
But you have to have platforms like Soul of the City that reach out to, you know, Bria Grants and others. And you have to be able to have people like her who are really getting things done. And if you see on her website, she focuses on outcomes.
That's right.
You know, and she's focusing on outcomes in the public health sector.
That's right.
Which is helping to train individuals and people and promote people within the realm of health and understanding the importance of health and understanding their role from a community perspective. So lots of times when we talk about health, an individual does not feel that they can be effective in improving the health of a community if they're not a doctor, if they're not a nurse, if they're not, you know, in some type of, you know, what it looks like when you're working from a perspective of health. The average person doesn't understand how significant they are. Like she said, if you're a diabetic, if you're a transplant survivor, if you're, you know, a person who has overcome any type of illness or circumstance in the community, you can potentially be an expert at helping somebody else
For
overcome
sure.
those things.
Absolutely.
And that's the significance of learning to be a community health worker. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to connect with her today
Hands down.
and get that information out there so that people can be aware. And if they potentially are interested, they can contact Ms. Bria Grant.
Hands down, to connect a community, health providers, and resources for better health and improve quality of life. That is her mission and her motive. Give her a call today, 414-435-0506. Or again, her website is weareunitedwi.org. That's weareunitedwi.org. You can email her at bria@weareunitewi.org. All right. She's on Facebook as well. I assume it is under Unite MKE / Unite WI. All right. That was Miss Bria Grant. We're going to be seeing more of her.
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing and
I'm
talking.
definitely looking forward to bringing her back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hopefully, like I said, she'll be able to do some sponsorship.
Yes,
we'll be
for
able to do some community events
Mhm.
as we're building our coalition. Shout out to Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yes, one of our
sponsors.
major sponsors.
Hopefully, we'll be bringing on people like Miss Bria.
Yes.
But we have an opportunity.
Mhm.
We really have an opportunity in the media space to change narrative.
Definitely.
And not stay in the midst of all of the mess that people are bringing forth in the media.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Soul of the city. That we are the soul of the city.
Mhm.
And when we say that, we want people to understand.
Yeah.
We want you to be connected
Yes.
to the things that are going to improve yourself.
Yes,
the
sir.
people who are going to help you improve yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And we want this platform to continue to be a catalyst
Right.
to grow our community
Mm-hmm.
and move it in a direction where we're gonna see significant positive change.
Very true.
And I go back to thanking Ms. Bria Grant for coming on to the show. And we've had some significant guests up to this point. We're moving quietly, but we're moving. And you're gonna see some great things to come.
That's
in
right.
the future as far as more powerful people,
Absolutely.
such as Ms. Grant and others who we have coming up to be a part of this platform.
Absolutely. 23 minutes after the hour of 2:00 p.m. Thank you all so much that have tuned in. We've been having people come on and off. So again, thank you. Be sure if you are on Facebook, please like and share this broadcast. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel, HD Higher Dimension, and also please like this show as well if you are on Facebook. Thank you all so much as well. All right, Dennis, you have anything over there?
No, I'm still kind of processing all of that brief information. I'm trying to figure out. What I'm actually thinking is like, okay, I gotta see if I need to renew my community health worker certification.
Oh yeah.
Because I do understand the significance of the work. So I'm kind of sitting here just kind of processing that because, like I said, she really just re-encouraged me.
Okay, and that's a good thing
to get out there.
So how long was the actual workshop? Because it was a training / workshop, right?
Yeah,
that you had to go through. So how long was it? Tell us your experience about it.
It was like this, and I was fortunate that I became a community health worker when they first brought this. When they first brought this movement and institution to the city of Milwaukee, so I was one of the first ones.
Okay, and so that was years ago. Was it recently?
I don't know. It was like maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe 10 years ago, something like that.
All right.
Yeah, and so it was in its initial stages at that time, but the information was so critical, and it was so valuable, and it was just different as far as a training and a learning on how to engage your community, and then recognize your significance from your not even necessarily skills that I needed to learn through training, but the value of my life experience.
Right.
And I think that's probably one of the most significant ways to articulate a community health worker, using your life experience as a way to help others improve themselves. Understanding your life experience as a way to know that you are an expert in helping others not go through some of the same things that you've went through. So, that was really important that you understand the human capital.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing with community health workers. To me, community health workers are the essence of understanding human and social capital within individuals
Okay.
and utilizing that human and social capital to help improve our communities by helping those people empower themselves to understand how significant they are through their experience.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you to define what a community health worker
And that would be the
is.
best
Okay.
way for me to define it.
Wonderful. So what so after you've completed the
Mhm.
actual training,
Mhm.
what would you go out to the community to do in terms of working with,
Well, for
like,
example,
hands on? Like, what would you go and
for example,
Mhm.
working with youth, working with families,
okay,
understanding all the
like
various issues,
mentoring?
all of the above,
Okay,
right?
all right.
But it depends on what institution you're working for, what community organization you're working for,
Okay.
and what you're targeting. You may be working for the health
So
department.
this would be a placement type thing,
It'll be
right?
a placement
Okay,
type thing
gotcha.
based upon what type of organization.
Okay.
You'd be placed within an organization that has a specific mission and a specific purpose.
Okay.
And then with that so for example, like
Mhm.
the health department,
Mhm.
the health department utilizes community health workers to get information out into homes,
Okay.
based upon resources that they're providing.
Right.
And traditionally, the health department, institutions like that,
Mhm.
if an individual from the health department comes to your house, you're going to be like, most people, if they just walk through the neighborhood, most people, when they see them with a badge or something like that, they're going to be like, I'm not letting you come in my house.
Right.
They maybe have the health department may have some very valuable information to help you learn about chronic illness, sickness, on disease or resources that are available.
Okay.
But if they come from the Milwaukee Health Department with a badge on their neck
Yeah.
and they knock on your door and they say, hey, we're from the health department, can we come in your home and talk to you?
Mhm.
Most people are going to slam the door in their face
Yeah.
because of the level of mistrust that exists in our community.
Mhm.
But if I, as a community health worker,
Mhm.
is working on behalf of the health department and I walk down the street and I knock on every door of everybody I know in my community, that information is going to be more accessible to them through me because they're more familiar with me, they're more
Okay.
comfortable with me, and I'm a person that's rooted in the community.
Mhm.
So community health workers are those navigators that help institutions bring resources that they traditionally could not get into homes or get to people, and the community health worker is the one who connects those dots.
But how do you go to a home? So okay, so when you are being trained to be a community health worker, do you be trained according to what people need when you go out to before you go out to the homes? Or you just go knock on the door to see
No, I was just
what
using that. I
they
was just using that as an example.
right. So I'm
So
saying
whatever resource that you're providing or you're communicating,
Yes.
of course, there's a training or there's an understanding in which how you go about and apply that information.
right. So when you go out into the field, okay, do you have like a curriculum or of some sort to say, okay, I'm going to go into this neighborhood or this particular household?
And that's what that's what the training for
Okay.
community health workers consists of.
Okay.
Helping you to understand how to go about that process.
Okay.
But also helping you to understand
Mhm.
that, again, as a community health worker, you have a certain power within you because of your relationship with the community. So I'll give you the perfect example. I'll use you as an example.
Okay. Mhm.
You're a transplant survivor,
Uh-huh.
correct?
Yes, I am.
Right. Kidney transplant survivor.
Yeah.
There are many people who are going to possibly need kidney transplants,
Mhm.
right? And as you know, from that experience, it's a very frightening experience. It's an experience where you just are in the unknown. You have to go through a lot of things mentally to prepare yourself to go through that process. And that's something that you have experienced in its entirety from A to Z. What it takes to go when you get on the list, waiting on the list, getting a phone call, going through getting your body healthy enough to prepare yourself for transplant, what you go through psychologically, while you're preparing for that, what you go through psychologically while you're going through the surgery, and then what you have to do post the surgery to maintain the care so that your body doesn't reject the transplant. You are very experienced in that because it's personal to you. So therefore, if you are a community health worker and you work for a hospital, you could help people understand
Mm-hmm.
how to prepare themselves to get ready to go through having a transplant.
Mm-hmm.
But you are the expert in it, not because you went to school to learn about kidneys.
Right.
You're the expert in it as a community healthcare worker because you've had that personal experience.
Right.
So that personal experience that you have becomes the knowledge and the resource that our community needs. And somebody will listen to Sister Soraya
Mm-hmm.
and they'll be more comforted from hearing from someone like you
Right.
than hearing from a doctor who they are unfamiliar with, per se.
Right. Absolutely. So they
So-
have more of that trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's the significance of a community health worker.
Okay.
Whether it's a person who had a heart transplant, a kidney transplant,
Mhm.
a person who got who was a victim of violence,
Okay.
a person who's been incarcerated, all of these different things give you a level of expertise to be able to communicate
Okay.
effectively or more effectively to someone else. Because most people who are going through these negative experiences, if they can see someone who looks like them and see the familiarity within that person, it gives them a different level of comfort with being able to receive the information and
Okay.
help improve themselves. Many times people don't have that opportunity to talk to someone who has had their same experience,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So it's harder for them to overcome whatever the challenge is or to proceed through it.
Mhm.
So community health workers become essential based upon their life experience.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So the
Cool.
institution helps you to understand that, and they framework it and lay it out in a variety of different ways as far as the courses and the information.
Right.
But when we get to the essence of it,
Yeah.
it's those things that I'm stating.
Okay. All right. Simple enough.
Mhm.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So again, if you would like to become a community health worker, you can phone them today. 414-435-0506. Now, is there a so of course you have to register for these courses, right?
Yeah, I would say I'm not familiar exactly what the process is right now. That's why I wanted to
Okay.
get Bria's information out there
Yeah.
so you can contact her organization.
Okay. So you said that you're
Contact.
thinking about renewing yours.
No,
right?
I don't know if there's a renewal, but you know how
Renewal,
sometimes you just want to have
Mhm.
a continuing education
Yeah. Mhm.
just to be current with what's going on in
Yeah.
the field today.
Definitely.
So I would like to do something like that.
You're absolutely right. Because you know what? I need to go renew my CPR license too. My CPR certification.
Mhm.
I have not done mine in years.
Yeah.
So come to think of that too. Yeah, you get
But the
something.
other thing is that I think we take for granted how
Very
serious
true.
we don't understand what when we look at public health.
Yeah, I agree.
And when we look at public health crises.
Mm-hmm.
So like right now, the driving issue in our community
Mm-hmm.
is a public health crisis. You know, and traditionally we wouldn't look at it like that.
Mm-hmm.
But why is it a public health crisis? Because it affects the health of the community.
Yeah.
When somebody drives down the street at 150 miles an hour and runs
Yeah.
into a car and splits it in half and
Mhm.
kills everybody in the car,
Everybody.
that's a public health crisis. Now, not only is the act of the people being hurt a health crisis, but the act of the driving is a public health crisis because someone mentally
Mhm.
is ill enough to think that that's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we address the mental illness that's going on in these individuals who think that it's okay for them to drive in this capacity? Well, maybe they're affected by this mental illness because they've experienced a certain type of trauma. They've come from a certain level of poverty. They're addicted to a certain type of drug or multiple drugs. All of these things are health oriented in its essence and in the nature of it, right? So we have to understand that public health is critical in us understanding how to solve problems in our community. And it's really the approach that we need to take to be more effective than we have been in the past. But we're overlooking institutions like community health workers and the organization that Bria is a part of, or people like Bria, because it's not the trendy thing to talk about today, and the monies are not necessarily being focused in that area. So organizations are hopping on that. They go wherever the dollars are. But just because the dollars are going into a certain area doesn't mean that you should neglect other things that can be more effective.
Yeah.
And we have to look at public health overall as the issue to solve our problems, but we can't look at it from a perspective of as soon as some dollars come out, then fraudulent organizations run to the table and start getting the money, then mismanage the dollars, and then because the dollars that came into the community to change the community haven't had an impact, it sets the community back further, and now the people who have put the dollars out don't want to invest in that issue anymore, even though there were some credible entities that could have made a significant change.
In what way can we bring more awareness to community health workers?
Well, in the way that we're doing right now, that's why Soul of the City is so important, and us having our own media platforms so that we can control the narrative. Everyone has, people have such insincere motives when they get platforms that they don't necessarily reach out to the entities that are the most effective or that have the potential to be the most powerful if it's not something that's immediately benefiting them.
Yeah, because you may mention when it's not most popular.
Yeah. So like, for example, the work that we were doing with the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative, when I was doing the work and I was getting the media attention and we were all traveling all over and we were going national, international, we raised a lot of awareness and we raised a lot of money around understanding how important the role of a father is in our society today and in the home today, right? And as soon as we started to attract those dollars, everybody started to compete. Everyone started to be jealous and fight. And we talked about this a little bit.
And might I add,
with
there was not a lot of fatherhood initiatives around the world.
No, but in this city, when the dollars came, all you saw is every organization in the whole. Think about this. You saw every organization almost in the whole community talk about they wanted to help fathers.
That and in the world.
Now there's not the same amount of dollars or the same amount of attention that's coming through for fatherhood, and now where are all of those entities at now?
I get it.
Think about it. Ever since I left the Milwaukee Fatherhood Initiative, you haven't heard anything about fatherhood.
I'm sorry, I stopped following
in this community.
I stopped following.
But think about it.
I don't,
because what they did was because it was popular. They cluttered up the work. They infiltrated the work, and instead of them allowing me to continue to move forward with the work, they couldn't imagine. I couldn't be the face of success without others being envious and jealous of that. And what they did was they fought and they bickered and they lied and they created all kind of envy and jealousies around a sincere work that was getting done, to the point where the institution now you don't see the same level of commitment to it, because when you see someone being successful in something, you don't know the workload that they're carrying on. They had no idea the level of workload that I was carrying on to maintain fatherhood at the level on which I was working to get it done. And then when you see when they start to see you moving, they just come for what you got.
To be truthfully honest, I haven't even
right.
I haven't paid attention to any fatherhood initiative. I haven't seen anything out about
because because people were not sincere about the work. So once everybody started to attack and come after me because I was being successful in the work, I'm not here to compete with anybody. I can help people by sitting on my porch. I don't have to be on TV. I don't have to be on the radio. When you committed to work, you just work. But for those who wanted to take on the movement and move forward, they failed.
But are there any more fatherhood programs like working now though? I mean, like,
have you heard of them?
Like I said, I haven't been paying attention.
If you haven't heard of them, that's a bad thing. Let's just put it like that. There are a few entities.
So there are still a few entities out promoting fatherhood?
Maybe not. I'm not even sure. I just know what I do. But my point is that you have all of these organizations throughout the whole city who claimed that they were committed to helping fathers.
Yeah.
And as soon as it wasn't popular anymore, as you just stated, you haven't heard anybody talking about fathers. And that's what I'm just using that as an example of what we're talking about with Miss Bria as well. Her organization is one that is being very effective. And she's committed to the work in spite of and she found her own way in spite of those who may have attacked her, in spite of those who may have tried to replace her. She's still doing the work.
Yeah.
And she's still committed to the work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a work that we need to identify and continue to highlight in this community, just like fatherhood.
Okay.
And regardless of those who have abandoned it or those who have been fraudulent in it,
Yeah.
regardless of the fact that there's not as many dollars that may have come down in its original form, the need is still there and the void is still there.
Yes.
For the work.
Yes.
So I'm just basically just saying that we have to do a better job at reaching out and connecting to those who really have the ability to be effective.
For sure.
And bring forth change within the organizations and within the sincere work that they're committed to doing.
And there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So,
Yeah, definitely.
okay. For sure. 42 minutes after the hour of 2:00 p.m. All right. So really quick, Dennis, in other news, there's been an extension. The Wisconsin Department of Transportation Division of Motor Vehicles is extending driver's license renewal deadlines for people ages 60 and older, just in citing elevated health risks for the age group amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Licensed drivers who are ages 60 and older and who have a license scheduled to expire in January, February, or March will now have until March 31st to visit a DMV to renew with no late fee. All right. So driver records are automatically updated and the new expiration date will be visible to law enforcement. Customers can check the status of the license, including the adjustment expiration date, on the DMV website. Appointments for driver's license renewal can be scheduled online, and applications can also be completed online and submitted electronically. All right, so questions can be answered by email or by phone. All right, so I want to keep that in mind. The DMV extends driver's license renewal deadline for ages 60 and older, not under. Keep that in mind, all right? So
No, that's good.
that's very good, just so you all know,
I'm glad
okay?
you said that because I totally forgot. Oh, like
You get your license. Dennis. Get your license in order, Doc. Get your license in order, Doc.
I ain't 60, so I'm gonna have to.
Dang near.
Paying a fine. No, but I'm
Yeah.
glad you said that because I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta renew my license.
All right, the Wisconsin Department of Workforce Development and the Wisconsin Department of Justice on Wednesday announced a $200,000 agreement in DWD's federal court claim filed in a Briggs and Stratton Corporation bankruptcy case. Yeah, they're about to go bankrupt. The funds, along with the $5 million surety bond, are available to pay workers' compensation claims of a formerly self-insured employer.
Briggs going bankrupt.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Additionally,
That's crazy. Though.
Yeah, they've been
That's
open.
That's not a good thing.
Man. Additionally, a self-insured employer's liability fund is available to make up any shortfall and protect payments to injured employees should these funds and surety bond be exhausted.
Well, yeah. The thing is that
Wow.
So the reason why that's so significant is because it reminds me of when A.O. Smith
Yes.
went out of business.
Up on 27.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for years, and this is one of the reasons why I'm like, I get frustrated with our community because I've been around to see some things. I've been around long enough to see some things and to witness some things, right? And I remember it was like for like at least 10 years, maybe more. We were hearing maybe like 15 years.
Okay.
At the most, we were hearing, A.L. Smith going out of business.
Yeah, they were closing.
A.L. Smith going out of business.
Yeah.
That's all you kept hearing all while I was young.
Yeah.
Eventually, and nobody could ever imagine A.O. Smith not being there because it was just a significant institution
Yeah. Mhm.
within the community. So again, you kept hearing, A.O. Smith going out of business. The move has started like over like 10, 15 years prior to it being in the way it is now, desolate for the last, I don't know how many years,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that whole time, organizations, elected officials, all of the above knew that this was going to happen because they have been saying it for over 10 years, maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
A.O. Smith is not going to be there.
All right.
And they did not put anything significant in place
Mm-hmm.
to replace A.O. Smith, knowing for 15 years or 10 or 15 years that it was going to be removed from the community.
Yeah.
And by them not properly preparing to replace that institution, our community suffered one of the biggest setbacks ever.
That lot have been empty since then.
But do you understand
Yeah.
that how many people could walk to work
That's right.
to that place?
That's right.
How many middle-class Black families
Very true.
had jobs at that place?
Mm-hmm.
And when that was removed, it dropped. It was like it decimated our community.
It did. Yeah.
But we have been warned for over 10 years
That it was going on.
that it was going out of business, and no one stepped up to fill the void
Yeah.
so that when it was gone, it wouldn't just be in a state of desolence and
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't decimate our community.
Yeah.
So I'm using that in comparison to what we just heard about Briggs and Stratton.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many middle class jobs that Briggs and Stratton has sustained in our community for I don't know how many years in the
Yes.
same manner in which A.O. Smith provided jobs and sustained our community?
Mm-hmm.
And when we lose an institution like that in our community, we should learn from an A.O. Smith that there's a major setback that occurs to a community when you lose that type of manufacturing or employment base in our community.
Yeah.
And with that, and it's also setting the precedence for what's going to continue to happen when you talk about manufacturing facilities of that style going out of business. You're going to see more of that happening, not only in Milwaukee, but across the nation. So what's slowly happening, or maybe even faster than we think, you're seeing the eroding of our community and the economic base and employment base in our community. And you're seeing employment transition to something different right now.
Definitely, because you know what, Briggs and Stratton, I don't think they've never faced bankruptcy. They used to always have layoffs.
I mean, but who's next?
But
Who's next? Harley Davidson. Who's next? Coors. What other manufacturing significant major manufacturing plants that are housed in Milwaukee and in the United States are going to continue to fail because that Briggs is an American institution.
Mm-hmm. Make motors.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, it's bigger than just Briggs.
Mm-hmm.
You have to look at that and say, okay, well, what's coming?
Mm-hmm.
And how's that going to affect our community?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the way I look at it anyway.
Oh my Lord.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 49 minutes after the hour of 2:00 p.m.
Hey, you know something I want to talk about?
What's that?
I want to talk about this last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll talk about it briefly because we got 10 minutes.
Yep, and I was going to talk about, speaking of jobs, how unemployment rate, it has jumped more than double.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
They said that. Go ahead.
No, I was going to read this story right quick.
Go ahead, read it.
All right. It says, not only did the Black unemployment rate in December jump to more than twice that of white people, but Black workers who had already had the highest rate of all demographics saw their levels of joblessness grow while everybody else's dropped. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics on Friday morning released in December numbers and showed that 1 month after the Black unemployment rate fell by more than 1 full percentage point and an unprecedented drop, it went right back up to 0.6% to land at 7.1% for last month.
Man, look. And now remember how I've been saying for the longest that we're going to be losing jobs. All of the
Big time.
the fast food workers,
Yep.
all that's going to change.
Yep.
Walmart workers,
Going-
all that's going to change.
Kiosks, we're gonna be checking out our own products.
I've been
Yes.
saying that for what, 2 years now?
Yes.
I've been saying that
And
for
you know
2
what?
years.
And I went to Walmart and no cashiers were available. And I'm like, I don't like checking on my own food. I
Right.
gotta weigh my fruit. I gotta find the I gotta find the bell pepper.
Right.
All of
Yeah.
this is crazy.
But do you remember I said this?
This is crazy, dude.
Everywhere you go now,
Everywhere.
everything's automated,
Robotic.
robotic.
Gotta bring
Like I
my
said, you could, if
gotta bring my Big Mac. This is crazy.
yeah, you got to ring up your own Big Mac.
Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah.
But again, we have been talking about this for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
And you can go back through our old shows where we talked specifically about this
Yeah.
years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are today
Yeah.
facing those very challenges, right? And so what does that look like? What does that mean for our economy?
Oh
What
my
is that?
Lord.
And the unemployment rate is going to only increase. It's going to be even more significant.
Unemployment rates: white 3.2%, black 7.1%, Hispanic 4.9%, Asian 3.8%.
Okay, look. So let's talk about this, right? I almost want to give them an exclusive. But anyway, let's talk about this,
All
right? And I hinted to
Yeah.
this a little bit with Bria when she was talking about the inclusion of working on behalf of
Mhm.
everybody and having that mindset. But then also, as I stated, we have some significant differences that are affecting us as African American people than others, like the unemployment rate.
Absolutely.
How is it
Major.
that Black people came into this country as slaves in most instances, not in all instances, because that's one of the things they like to make us believe, that we were all slaves
Mhm.
and that there were no Black people in the United States before we got here. But Black people have been already all over the world.
Mhm.
That's another conversation.
Okay.
But through slavery, we were brought to the United States to build up the economic infrastructure of the United States and build the infrastructure of the United States. Black people, our ancestors, were brought here to build the foundation of a nation and to be the backbone of a nation to make it thrive, right? So therefore, that there's a significance there that's different than other races, right? And this is the reason why we celebrate a Dr. King Day today, a Martin Luther King Day, to recognize those who have come before us, right? So why is it that we can be the architect and the founders of what liberation and liberty looks like? We can design the blueprint for what freedom and what liberty looks like. We are the infrastructure and the foundation of a nation. Our ancestors built this nation, right? But then here we are today in 2022, and we still got the highest unemployment rate. Somebody make that make sense.
I don't have the answer.
Again, though, but just think about it.
Yeah, I get it.
Look at, first of all, and this is not something, this is not, I'm not saying this
Mhm.
to belittle anyone,
Yeah.
but the African American people have more of a significance in the United States than any other ethnic group of people because of what we had to endure. The only people that I would say have endured more and who we have to pay homage to is the Native Americans, because it was their country first and they were killed and wiped out. And then we were brought here and forced into labor to build the infrastructure of this country, which made this country the greatest country and the most prosperous country in the world. And here we are today in 2022, after coming from slavery out of the 1800s, and we still have the highest unemployment rate. So we have to be, it's important that we recognize the legacy of a Dr. King, but there are so many others who proceeded and worked with Dr. King as well. But we have to understand what was the fight for and have we achieved it? When you see all these other groups pushing past us,
And
and
we the
not
highest.
recognizing
Yeah.
the significance, or we're not even recognizing the significance of who we are to a country and what we are owed and what we should be really fighting for when we talk about having and owning a piece of the prosperity that exists. There's no reason our communities should be in the condition that they're in 2022 when you look at our contribution to what this country has become and what it has done throughout the world based upon the labor that we have contributed to the growth of this country. There's no reason we should be looking in the face of poverty the way that we are when Dr. King's and Malcolm X's and Marcus Garvey's and
John Lewis.
you just go
yeah.
all down the line with all
Mhm.
of those who have preceded us and fought for liberation for Black people and fought for the inclusiveness of all people. But then you do have to recognize the significance of a legacy of African American people, which is different than everyone else's because we've endured the most and we've suffered the most. A homosexual person or a lesbian person or a transgender person cannot compare their struggle to the struggle of our ancestors. You know, the Black man who was raped and beaten and ostracized, the Black woman who was raped and beaten, ostracized. Yeah. You can't compare your struggle to our ancestors who had to survive in the manner in which they did for you to be able to be here today. I take offense a lot of times when I hear people just try to automatically attach themselves to the suffering of African American people and the history of Black American people to try to justify themselves. No, you pay homage to those who have come before you and recognize that you're able to do what you're able to do today because of the suffering of a people that came before you. You know, so on a day like today, it's bigger than just, you know, recognizing that I have a dream speech. You have to recognize how many thousands of people who came before you and where what we've had to go through, what we've had to endure, and then understand today that we're still suffering an injustice on behalf of a lot of people when it comes to Black people today. There's no reason that it's no reason that our unemployment rate should be triple or double everybody else.
And then now the main question we ask ourselves now, Dennis, is where do we go from here?
I mean, we have to keep on fighting and we have to keep on raising awareness and raising the knowledge. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are many people who are still moving forward and moving us forward.
Yeah.
We're not just a complete failure at all.
Yeah.
There are many people who are fighting and working and being successful and having making a difference and improving communities all over the world.
Definitely.
All over the United States.
Okay.
You know, but at the same time, the fact that I can walk up out of the studio and possibly get ran over by a car, you know, because like a perfect example, one of my I was with Supreme the other day, right? And I had called him and he was like, man, you know, I'm just going through a little something. One of my people ended up dying today. And I was like, really, what happened? He was like, well, the little girl was walking across the street on like 100 and something in Oklahoma or something like that. And a car comes through like 100 miles an hour and just runs her over. She's 20 years old, runs the little girl over and just straight kills her. And when they run her over, they just keep going and don't even stop. And this was his goddaughter. Just walking across the street with her friend, the car speeds across through the light over 100 miles an hour, hits the girl, knocks her up in the air, kills her, and don't even stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, how we get to this place? How we get to this place to where people are doing this type of stuff to each other?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so it's just,
sorry.
It's like, man, when Martin Luther King said he had a dream.
Yeah, right.
Are we living that dream? Are we fulfilling that dream? Are we really living in the essence of who we are as African American people and the significance of our contribution to this land? Or are we just existing? And I just think this is just a question that
I
we
don't
need to-
even know. Look.
It's just a
I don't even know. Not after that story, I don't even know.
I think it's just a question
Oh,
that
no.
we need to, consider.
My God.
But it's
my
no
God.
reason why we should be like Rich said. It's no reason why we should live in desolate areas with run-down houses and trash in the alleys and potholes in the streets. And,
Mm-hmm.
there's no reason
Mm-hmm.
we should be living like this because the resources and the wealth
Mm-hmm.
it's come off of the back of our people.
Yeah.
There's no reason why we should be doing the worst in schools, the worst in all the social determinants of health. There's no reason, if you look at what we've contributed, that we should be in the condition that we in overall. Now, individually, there are a lot of us that are doing very well. But in the meantime, we have to continue the legacy.
And we have to continue legacy and continue it by choice. Some things is done by choice.
Yeah, again, some things are done by choice, but there are a lot of things that are done by design.
Yep.
And you don't understand that you're in the design, so you make choices because you're caught up in a design that you don't even have an understanding of.
Okay.
So
I understand that too.
And
it has to begin with you.
It does.
Some things have to begin with you.
And that's why you should become a community health worker.
And that's why go get yours renewed and I'll be right behind you. All right. All right, y'all. 1 minute after the hour, 3:00 p.m. This concludes the Soul of the City Gospel Radio Show. We've had so much fun with you today. Sorry about all the glitches, but we're going to re-air this. All right.
We're gonna clean it up.
We're gonna make some edifications.
Reproduce it.
Yes, we will.
Can we end on the Dr. King speech that we were trying to play in the beginning? Is that possible?
Let me see which one.
The King that they don't want you to hear about.
Okay, we're gonna try to find that one.
All right. I think that
Let
would
me
be
see.
most appropriate. But again, for everybody out there, this is Soul of the City. We are the Soul of the City. If you want to do an interview on Soul of the City, or you need to get your information out on Soul of the City, you can contact us.
Yes.
Definitely contact us. We're looking forward to getting your stories out there.
For sure.
It's really important. Getting your information out there. Make sure that you, for those who are listening, whether you're watching on social media or you're listening online, make sure that you download the app.
Yes.
HD Radio Online.
Download that app.
HD Radio Online.
HD Radio Online.
HD Radio Online. Just one word. One word. Straight across. HD Radio Online. You're going to love the great gospel music that you're hearing. As well as you can hear the rebroadcast of the show or hear the shows online as well. But again, make sure you do that. Take us everywhere you go on any one of your mobile devices, your phones, your laptops, anything that you can download an app on. You can, anywhere you want to go, and you can take us anywhere you go.
Absolutely.
So again, happy King Day, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Next week, Monday. All right, and God stay the same. All right, y'all. In the meantime, keep it locked. You can go back on to the station on your mobile device at HD Radio Online. You can do that right now. All right. All right, y'all. In the meantime, we are going to play. We're going to play that that last clip, that MLK that nobody they you didn't want to hear.
The Martin Luther King that they don't want you to hear.
They don't want you to
hear. The revolutionary Martin.
All right, we're going to get that on right now. And here we go. We're going to play that right now. Here we go right here.